And good evening, ladies and gents, wherever you may be around the world, and welcome to Splendid Isolation number 260. A lot to talk about today, but to give time for people to join the stream and what have you, as always, I'm going to start us off with a tune.
Take up the white man's burden, send forth the best ye breed. Go bind your sons to exile, to serve your captives' need. To wait in heavy harness on flooded folk and wild. Your new God's sullen peoples have devil and have child. Take up the white man's burden, in patience to abide, to veil the threat of terror and check the show of pride. By open speech and simple, 100 times made plain, to seek another's profit and work another's gain. Take up the white man's burden, the savage wars of peace. Fill full the mouth of famine and bid the sickness cease. And when your goal is nearest, the end for others sought, what's love and heed and folly, bring all your hopes to naught. Take up the white man's burden, no tawdry rule of kings, but toil of serf and sweeper, the tale of common things. The ports ye shall not enter, the roads ye shall not tread. Go make them with your living and mark them with your dead. Take up the white man's burden and reap his old reward. The blame of those ye better, the hate of those ye guard. The cry of those ye humor are slowly towards the light. Why brought ye us from bondage, a loved Egyptian night? Take up the white man's burden, ye dare not stoop to this, nor call too loud on freedom to cloak your weariness. By all ye cry or whisper, by all ye leave or do, the silent, sullen people shall wail gods and you. Take up the white man's burden, have done with childish days, the lightly proffered laurel, the easy ungrudged praise. Come thou to search your manhood through all of thankless years. No age with give what wisdom, the judgment of your peers. Take off the white man's burden through all of thankless years.
And that was, of course, the excellent Chris Gard. If you like good music, do go and check out Chris Gard's channel on YouTube. He has lots of good contemporary stuff as well as more traditional stuff like that. And you can also follow him on X, where we are also live at the moment. Okay, well, obviously we've got at least a couple of subjects to talk about this evening. We're going to talk about the by-election in Britain, which the Greens won, and Reform UK, Nigel Farage's lot did not win. And then they immediately fell out with each other and called each other racist afterwards, which I thought was most amusing. And much less amusing, there's the Americans are chucking missiles at the Iranians again, probably to no great purpose unless you happen to be Israeli. But I am going to leave that to people to talk about. We are lucky enough this evening to have Bede of Britannia on, and he is, Bede of Britain, I beg your pardon, and he is our Middle Eastern expert on our Discord. He's got many good series about Middle Eastern subjects, and in fact, he's doing a historical series with his friend Hunger about Iran at the moment, Persia and Iran at the moment. So, without further ado, I'm going to pass this over to Bede of Britain, because I'm guessing his subject is going to be the fighting in Iran.
Yes, thank you, Duke. And no, it is Britannia. You were right the first time.
I beg your pardon. I'm just getting old and senile. I'm sorry, Bede.
No, it's all right. Yeah, so unless you've been living in a cave, you've probably seen on the news that yes, the US and Israel, after about a week or two of like building tensions and negotiations, have finally launched another attack on Iran. They've launched tons of missiles at the country. In response, Iran has fired missiles at several American military bases in the Middle East, crucially in places in the Persian Gulf, including Dubai and Abu Dhabi, etc. Iraqi militants, which is a Iranian ally, are also attacking American bases in Iraq as well. And what's also happened is several leading members of the regime have been confirmed dead. Two notable ones are the defense minister and the leader of the IRGC, or Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps. They're both confirmed dead. There's wide speculation that the supreme leader himself has also been killed, though that is disputed. Trump claims he believes he's dead. Fox News is the only major news one I've seen who are saying that he's definitely dead. The BBC and Reuters are both saying it's unconfirmed at the moment, so we'll have to see what information comes out about that. Apparently, as well, I've also seen that Khomeini's son, who was actually his intended successor, has been killed as well, and apparently the whole family were wiped out in the attack. So brutal stuff. What this reminds me of is, people may remember a couple of years ago in September 24, Israel launched a strike on Hezbollah in Lebanon where they killed Hassan Nasrallah, who was the leader of Hezbollah, and they also in the same attack killed a few other prominent IRGC members and members of Hezbollah. So this attack today, to me, feels like that same operation, just on a much larger scale. Essentially, it's a decapitation strike where they're trying to wipe out as much of the ruling elite of the Iranian regime. Why they're doing this could be because, to go back to these negotiations, these are all about the fact that Iran wants to build a nuclear reactor because they claim they want nuclear energy. The US and Israel don't trust Iran, feeling they're going to use it to make a nuclear weapon, and that's the whole reason, the breakdown for these talks. And yeah, so ultimately, this could be, by getting the leadership, they're hoping to perhaps lead to regime change where a more, shall we say, compliant regime will come in who will negotiate in the interests of the US and Israel. But there's also a possibility, I think, that this could completely backfire and galvanize the Iranians around their regime because of this attack, especially as one of the first missiles that was fired hit a school and killed 40 schoolgirls. So, absolutely great optics there, Trump.
Nothing says bringing freedom to the world like killing 40 schoolgirls. My main thing about this, is I just hope Britain stays out of it. I don't think we should get involved in this at all. It's obviously it's being done for Israel. I don't think the vast majority of Americans really want to be firing missiles at Iran, but the Israelis certainly do. And as you said to me earlier, Trump's trying to put some sort of bill through Congress, through Congress, which is going to make elections in the US more secure. And this may be the price that the Zionists demanded to put that through. So I don't know if you want to say a bit about that, mate.
Yeah, I was talking to my friend Hunger earlier, and he was saying to me there's this act they're trying to pass called the SAVE Act, which is there to improve election integrity from things like fraud and illegal voting. And basically, Trump has had to do this to get the Zionist support for this act domestically. So, not a great trade-off, but I can kind of understand why he's done it.
Yeah, he seems to like these little weekend wars, doesn't he? You know, where he fires missiles and bombs at people for a day or two. For somebody who's supposedly is a big peace guy, he fires an awful lot of missiles and bombs at people, I've got to say. Like I said, I don't see how America's going to benefit from this, really. I know the Israelis are dead set on trying to do regime change in Iran, and I suspect this is mainly a Zionist thing, to be honest with you.
He's not a peace guy. He's not a boots on the ground guy.
Yeah, okay. Well, yeah.
Yeah,
I guess
the thing is, though, I mean,
no sleep over this. Not at all.
Well, I mean, okay, yeah.
I guess, or reality, none of those 4 little schoolgirls were anything to do with you. So fair enough.
That's not what I meant, and you know that. But
I mean, it's like, I suppose in a way we should be grateful that he's using American force a bit more productively than most previous presidents, but I don't know. I kind of feel like he's also, like, on this one specifically, he's really playing into the Great Satan angle that the Iranians were always trying to paint of him. Probably doing more to legitimize that regime on the ground over there than we'd probably ideally want. It kind of seems like just creating more problems for tomorrow.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that. Mitch, Mercian, any views on this?
I don't have a lot of views on this. I'm not an expert on Middle Eastern politics by any stretch. The only thing I'm going to say on it is let's see the Starmer wave of refugees from this. Then that's pretty much all I've got to say on it.
Yeah, I mean,
yeah, of course that was a misfire on that school too. I mean, that's not something that is the U.S. military style to go after school kids.
You're
we lost you.
What's happened to you?
Oh no.
What's that second him out?
It's your stream now, Bede. Sorry, you're in the captain's seat.
You're in charge. You're in the top left. Look.
I've launched my own decapitation strike. I now command the channel.
He gets very angry anytime I say that I would have no problem bombing different countries in the Middle East. I told you guys last time I got kicked out of the Discord group for like 6 hours over this discussion.
He just tried to kick you again and kicked himself,
yep,
I think.
Yep, I think so.
I wasn't trying to kick anything. I was trying to tell Aubrey that your sound is terrible. Your microphone's not working.
Is it bad right now still?
Yeah, it's really soft. Can barely hear
it sounds like you're talking to a baked bean tin on a cable. That old trick.
I'm sorry, guys. Okay, hold on. I'll try to work on that.
No, look, my thinking with this is, as I said on the Discord, I don't think Britain should get involved in Middle Eastern politics more than we have to. I think it's a perfectly legitimate British interest to keep the shipping routes open in that part of the world. So when there was a British warship based in that part of the world, I was big time supporter of that. I think that's entirely justifiable. It's actually is a British interest to keep the shipping routes open. But I just hope we don't join in with this American war.
How do we actually do that now, though? Because do we have any like serious allies in that region now that we could work with to operate?
We've got the Brits are still heavily involved in Oman, for example. Right. We've got a big naval base. Bede will tell me. I think it's in Dubai. think it's Dubai. It's not. It's the island, or is it Bahrain? Bahrain, I beg your pardon. There's a Royal Navy base in Bahrain as well, but we've got no ships there at the moment because successive governments have so cut the poor Royal Navy. It's now so tiny and weak. We can't keep one warship in the Middle East. It's pathetic, you know.
But isn't Bahrain a bit of a vulnerable place to operate Royal Navy vessels from, though? If I mean, obviously, like the implication is, I think most of us here are not in favour of like getting Britain involved with whatever spat this is that Trump has with Iran, and indeed, I don't think he cares about having allies in on this. But it's I don't like if you ever get into a situation where Iran is kicking off, isn't Bahrain in quite a vulnerable position to?
Not especially. And I mean, you can put defences there, you know.
Yeah.
And the ship can defend itself as well. It's the whole point of having the ship there. You know, we not that long ago, like I don't know, middle of last year, there was a Royal Navy destroyer in the Gulf and in the Persian Gulf, shooting down Houthi drones and what have you. The problem is that you're spending extremely expensive missiles to shoot down not so expensive drones, which is not really a good economic thing to do, but it is one way of at least protecting the merchant ships.
I mean, most of the stuff that we need to safeguard in that region is our oil supplies from Kuwait, isn't it? Because they're still a big.
There's that, but there's
to us, isn't there?
There is that, but there's also an awful lot of just general merchant shipping trade that comes through there, a lot of which ends up in Britain.
Yeah, I'm just checking now. Apparently, Kuwait accounts for 38% of all of our petroleum products.
Yeah, but like I said, there's almost everything coming from the Far East, for example, is going through that area.
Mm.
Yeah,
like some of it goes around Africa, but most of it comes up through the Middle East.
Yeah, I've heard like these takes about the idea that, you know, what's going to happen is you're going to have the people marching up and restoring Pahlavi monarchy and getting rid of the mothers once America like kills off enough of the leadership. Some of it, I just, you know, when you look at Iran's history, it's a matter of like what, I mean, how long ago was Cyrus the Great? You're talking like 3,000, 4,000 years, something like that. That's how long Iranian history goes. Who actually, you know, obviously I am all about actually genuinely thinking they can get Iran to just go right into their lap and just do what we want. Like it's, I mean, other annoying thing for me is you know, like Maya Tusi and all these people are like Iranian diaspora, like they're all cheerleading, like they're bombing around bloody homeland.
Well, yeah, but if you were to talk to former supporters of the Shah, then sure, yeah, I'm sure that's correct. I mean, look, Bede knows far more about this than I do, but I remember, you know, 6 months ago when they were trying to big up the so-called revolutionary activity in Iran against the mullahs. It was mostly coming from pro-Shah exiles overseas. It wasn't coming from within in Iran itself so much. But like I said, Bede knows a lot more about that than I do.
Well, in that case, there were genuine protests by the Bazaris, which are the merchant class, against the hike in business rates and because the economy is not doing well. It then got hijacked by a bunch of crazy anti-regime nutcases who went around just murdering random people. And obviously that was massively blown up by people like Maya Tusi and other shills. But yeah, that ended up calming down. But it's all heated up again now with this missile exchange.
Yeah. Look, like I said, I think speaking as a British guy, as an Englishman, the main thing I hope is that we stay out of it. I don't think Trump's going to be dumb enough to put troops on the ground there, unless, although we were chatting about this before we went live, I suppose he might do some sort of raid on a coastal place or something like that. But the Americans are not going to invade Iran. The country's too damn big and too difficult to supply forces in. And I don't think the American public would stand for a big American expedition into Iran at the moment. I think that even his base, the Republican base, would not like it at all. I don't think the Americans want to start another Middle Eastern war at the moment.
Well, there's a problem though, which is that okay, let's say the ideal thing happens for the Americans, which is that there's a regime change and the Iranians negotiate, go, okay, we won't have nuclear power, and the whole situation calms down. But the thing is, as I've alluded to before, what if the support for the regime hardens and they keep wanting to fight and they won't just give up even after missiles are being exchanged? Will they not be forced to launch some kind of invasion if it came to it? Otherwise, they'll look humiliated.
Maybe. I mean, everything is possible. If he does launch troops there, I very much hope that they don't take the SAS or the Special Boat Service. But there's a good chance they will. But, we'll see.
Well, I mean, Alabaster's saying something along the lines of no one in America wants that, no political capital. And it's like, well, I mean, it's funny how things work in America where you can have, where the president really has to wring his arm just to get basic border security. But if Trump wants to bomb Iran or wants a coup Venezuela, he's got no obstacle to that whatsoever. It's funny how that works.
No, I'm sure the Americans can bomb Iran. They can chuck 500 missiles at it. I just don't see what good it's going to do the Americans to do that. I don't see any outcome that's going to do America any good. It might do Israel some good. Netanyahu, but will it do average Americans any good? No, not really.
Well, we all think more of Lindsey Graham and
Lindsey Graham will have a gay orgasm for sure, but
Well, it's the lobby. It's the lobby. I think we lost Iron Duke.
I've launched my second decapitation strike. Hopefully this one will last. Oh, never mind.
William, I agree. And Bede was saying exactly that it is the lobby before you joined us. So
I'm not. It's a very powerful lobby within the United States, and they have, this. You've seen the Pahlavi Crown Prince, who's been saddling up to that lobby, United States, and that sort of faction. And I'm not going to be able to be. I won't be on here for that long because I'm actually going to work tomorrow, so quite early on. So I'm going to have to keep this short. But what I will say is, what sort of comes now, it's unclear. It could be that I don't think there'll be a restoration of the monarchy. I think maybe it could be that somebody from within the military, a figure within the military, will maybe lead a new style government in Iran. It could be like a junta, a military junta or something like that. But it may even be a mullah who is pro-Western. It could even be something as simple as that. But the thing there is, for a real regime change that everyone's sort of tweeting about, and I have seen probably the most. I've been making names of people on Twitter who have been acting out today because these are the same people who would constantly agree and say, "Oh yes, Iraq, yes, Afghanistan, terrible mistake," and then suddenly like this today, and it's like they've sort of been NPC reprogrammed to be the most like neocon, hawkish idiots in the room.
Yeah, I think you make a very good point, William. It's worth reminding people that Iraq and Afghanistan killed about 850 British soldiers. Far, far more Americans, by the way, but 850 dead British soldiers. But also, let's not forget, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds more who were wounded and maimed, who lost limbs and all the rest of it, for absolutely nothing. We gained nothing out of it. And yeah, as you were just saying, William, you people today are saying, oh yeah, let's fight Iran. It's like people are dumb.
Well, it's like one of my guests on my show, Jack Hadfield, has sort of now just exposed himself to be this bizarre regime stooge. You know, he's writing in a Fabian Society-backed paper, the Pimlico Journal, and he's decrying ethno-nationalism while at the same time being the most ardent Zionist on the planet. I mean, how the hell does that work? Talk about contradiction.
Nationalism for you, but not nationalism for our lot. I believe Mitch is going to be talking about that chap today, wasn't it? You, Mitch, you said you were going to be talking about him?
Yeah, just as like a reaction to that. Yeah, because the whole point of the article he put in was just, we need to get rid of a restore Britain fad and just get behind reform.
But his reason is basically, his reason is basically that terminally online. I mean, I'm sorry, but Jack, if he's listening to this, I don't know if he watches this, but like, dude, you have been today slot posting about a restoration of the Pahlavi, family, the royal family, and some sort of bizarre, golden bull sort of coalition with fucking Netanyahu and the House of Benjamin and all that sort of rubbish. Like, that is terminally online. That entire belief that there's going to be a restoration exists in a very small percentage of the Iranian diaspora and Tommy Robinson nutters who actually believe that that is on the table. It's not. It is so beyond the table, far beyond the table. The only way that he could be restored is literally US tanks and infantry are marching down the center of Tehran and then physically install him. Apart from that, and it does not appear that that's going to happen. I think Trump's made it clear that that is not going to happen. So, I'm not being accused by these people of being terminally online and some out of touch, these out of touch ideologues, when these people today have been, I mean, let's be honest, they have been propagating the most disgusting ideology and also the most cucked ideology, because when you see how all these people are behaving, if they applied some sort of same level of national interest and dedication to their own fucking countries, then we wouldn't be such a god-awful place to live in, whether it be the United States, Britain, or anywhere else in the Western world.
Very well said.
Can't disagree with you at all, William. I'm going to ask Bede about this, but I don't think there is enough support within Iran for the Shah to come back. I mean, there were plenty of Iranians at the time of the revolution who were not hardline supporters of the Muslim mullahs, but they weren't supporters of the Shah either. I don't know. What would you say, Bede?
Well, that's the thing, because the Iranian Revolution was ultimately, what's incredible about it is that it was a very broad coalition. It was the mullahs, it was the merchants or bazaris, it was students and other intellectuals, and just common people. And it, simply put, the reason it worked is that the Shah was hated and seen as such a Western puppet that they all agreed, okay, we just want him gone. Anything else is better, and that's why he went. And the fact is, the army weren't prepared to fire on the crowd, and that's why he ended up going. What you guys have said is right. The only way he would return to power is if Trump literally invaded Iran and literally installed him physically, and that would not be good, because he would be propped up. Be more of a puppet who's literally been installed by the fucking military, that would be incredibly unstable. You'd probably cause some kind of like mass guerrilla war uprising against a foreign occupation in Iran, considering how mountainous the country is. You do not want to be caught in like a prolonged guerrilla conflict there, certainly.
It would make it would make Iraq look easy. It's a much bigger, much worse country to fight a war in than Iraq. But yeah, it would just be crazy. And I mean, unless anybody gets any silly fantasy ideas, Israel sure ain't going to invade Iran because the Israeli armed forces are just not big enough. They're not big enough.
Yeah, that's maybe in 100 years' time when the Greater Israel Project has come into fruition. I don't know.
But yeah, I mean, you know, Israel is still fighting in Gaza, which is like a big city, basically. So yeah, they're not going to be invading Iran. I think we can all see this as the only people benefiting from this are Netanyahu and his crowd in Israel, basically. Or they think they're going to anyway. And what it's doing is it's exposing all the shills on our side of politics. As William Grenville was saying, if you look at who's tweeting what, far from us being terminally online, it's these all these Israeli shills who I find quite interesting. You know,
No, certainly. I
Tommy
just want to
Robinson, so many of them. Sorry, you carry on, Beat.
Yeah, because I don't know if anyone saw this, but I quote tweeted Ben Habib earlier, who made an absolutely awful tweet where he just said, "Yeah, we must support Iran and overthrow this disgusting theocracy." And I just quote tweeted him, "Look, the Iranians can live under a disgusting theocracy. It's their prerogative, not ours." Please, and I just said, you know, you care more about Iran than you do about the country you claim to want to try and fix by your bloody party, who've got less votes than the fucking monster raving loony party.
Bede, I saw a advanced UK members saying, you know, we need to help Iran, you know, unshackle the, you know, the domination of Islam in their country. And I just thought, and I just like, I was just sitting there and I was thinking to myself, like, listen, that is an argument for probably the year 640, 650, 660s. That's an argument for over 1,400 years ago, when that could have been possible in theory. But the thing is, Islam has existed in Iran probably longer than I mean, it was like that before the Anglo-Saxons, our ancestors, converted to Christianity. I mean, it's roughly probably at the same time, but
it's about the same time because Augustine of Canterbury's mission to Britain was 596, about 40 years before the Arab conquest. So yeah, so Iran has been Islamic just as long as England's been Christian.
Yeah. So it would be kind of like, I mean, maybe Tom Browser would get off on this, but maybe it would be something like, you know, we need to free English people from the crutches of Christianity or something like that. It would, but the thing is, it's so embaked into the society and civilization. I mean, I don't know how many Zoroastrians or what have you, but it's a very small number anyway in Iran. And the thing is, while you know, that sort of thing, it's just, I mean, as Duke said, it is fantasy. There is a lot of fantasy commentary going on here about the capability and also just a realistic thing about it. I mean, fundamentally, even the Crown Prince is nominally a Shia Muslim. He follows the state religion of Iran, along with as his father did. I mean, they were all Shia Muslims. That has been like that since what was it, 16th 17th century, Bede?
Yes, it was Shah Ismail, when he became Shah in 1501, made Shia Islam the state religion.
Yeah, and basically they forcefully converted, because at that time most of Persia was followed Sunni Islam for most of its history, and then forcibly converted everyone to Shia Islam, which is the the overwhelming dominant religion to this day. And it's sort of this, these are the same people accusing it. I just find it absolutely ridiculous that these are the same people accusing us of being terminally online, where they don't know the backstory, they don't know the actual, the dynamics on the ground of the people involved, and then basically like sort of like living in this fantasy world. It's just crazy.
Yeah, it's almost like the curse of our modern time is for people to just indulge in these like ridiculous sort of political fantasies rather than what you can achieve realistically. It's just no, I must wish cast for a regime change. I must wish cast for the Zoroastrian Iran. I must wish cast for Greater Israel.
Yeah, and it's like, oh, what about the Christianity in Iran? It's like, yeah, that's the Armenian. That is the ethnic Armenian population that exists in Iran and stuff. I mean, that's what it is. But you know, I mean, another poor
Listen,
Worcester.
William, sorry to interrupt you, but I mean, if you're going to talk about Middle Eastern Christians, Middle Eastern Christians are not doing very well in, say, Lebanon, for example,
No,
or anywhere else in the Middle East. They're not doing very well in Syria these days, from everything I hear. So, you know, Israel and American foreign policy in the Middle East is certainly not doing Middle Eastern Christians any good, as far as I can work out. But again, I'm sure Bede knows more about this than we do.
Yes, because at the moment the only majority country in the Middle East that's majority Christian is Armenia, and do you know who is one of Armenia's biggest allies and protectors against domination by the Azeris and the Turks? It's Iran, because Iran now has its own beef. Yes, because Iran has its own beef with Azerbaijan, and because they see them as just a renegade breakaway province. So, you know, if you regime change Iran, there's a real chance that Armenia could lose one of its main allies because the new government might go along with Israel and go, yeah, fuck Armenia. Then
would
then
they go to
Azeris can
Russia?
completely. Sorry.
I was going to say, would the Armenians go to Russia?
Well, Russia actually has the second largest diaspora of Armenians after America, because I think there's 1 million Armenians living in Russia. So yeah, probably they would go there, but it's not ideal, is it? I don't really want to see the completion of the Armenian genocide of the century. Thank you.
Yeah, the problem Armenia has is it got like that Nikol Pashinyan, who was he's a massive pro-Western type, and he spurned Russia. But the problem is the West didn't lift a finger to help him when Azerbaijan took over Nagorno-Karabakh in the last war. But he's just doubled down on it, and he's just carried on, flipping off Russia for the sake of being very pro-Western. It's just leading Armenia to ruin, in a sense. I mean,
Did anybody watch the travel film that Callum did? I think it's Callum, isn't it, who used to work on the Lotus Eaters?
Callum.
He was in. I think his most recent film was in Syria, and he points out, of course, America and Israel were deeply involved in getting rid of Assad from Syria, and putting in what is basically a version of the Taliban, a version of the Islamic State in charge. And anyone who watched that film, every Christian community he went to in Syria, they've had like death squads arriving and all that since Assad fell, because Assad used to protect the Christians, and of course the Islamic State types who run the place now certainly don't. So it's just so much bullshit in the Middle East.
I just replied to Max Payne about Russians don't have yes, they don't have the capacity to fight the Turks now, but it's like when the Soviet Union broke apart, when Armenia went to war with Azerbaijan over Nagorno-Karabakh, it was the Russian soldiers on the ground who gave weapons to the Armenians, which helped them to win. So there is, and it's like the First World War also had the Armenians fighting alongside the Russians against the Ottoman Empire. So it's a matter of historically, Russia's always been there. And it's like Sergei Lavrov is half Armenian himself, as well as a lot of other Russian leaders. I forget what her name now. RT newswoman whose name I forget. She's Armenian, so it's quite stupid that the Armenian government is spending so much time antagonizing Russia needlessly for want of this pro-Western alignment. That's not going to happen, because it's
I think a lot of it's what would you call Armenian? I guess you see Armenian boomer sort of slop against the Soviet Union, which doesn't exist.
Well, it's interesting because Mitch, you talked about these Russian leaders who are Armenian or have Armenian ancestry, but we mustn't forget that one of the leading ministers of the Soviet Union in the late Stalin and Khrushchev era was Anastas Mikoyan, who was literally an Armenian Bolshevik.
Apparently, we have a female viewer in the chat. This is most unusual. We've got a female panel member too.
Oh no!
What's that? Oh no! Oh no! It was that.
Yeah, I know. But the
Was that
panel's falling. It really is. No, welcome Yennefer. Welcome Yennefer 792. Guys,
we have, technically we've got a woman on the panel, but she's kept in like a distant back room, far away from her microphone.
I can't stay.
Is this mic still terrible?
Yeah.
Okay, guys, hold on.
Yeah, your mic is still terrible, but hopefully you can.
I'm gonna have to head up.
William, I was just going to ask if you wanted to do any particular subject.
The mic reverb. Oh dear. All right, is it safe to talk now? Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
No, I apart from, I mean, the main story today is obviously the thing that I was going to mention. So no, apart from that, no, I'm going to have to head off now. Not because of all the women who I can't. I refuse to stay here. This was not what I signed up for. But.
Yeah, I'm really sorry about all the women, guys. What can I say? I'm really alluring.
They're all here for mercy.
This is unacceptable in the Islamic Republic of. We're following Iranian law at the moment.
The Islamic Republic of Gorton and Denton.
Yeah, the Islamic Republic of Gorton and Denton. Yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy. All right.
Breaking news: the entire Green leadership of Gorton and Denton has been wiped out.
The British Embassy has been evacuated from Gorton and Denton.
Yeah, I saw that tweet. Yeah.
We're going to get on to Gorton and Denton in a bit. Just as a slight segue from the Iranian stuff, I think that Rupert Lowe and Restore Britain have had the only sensible take on this. They've pointed out that Britain should avoid getting too involved in foreign wars, and especially at the moment because our armed forces have never been smaller and weaker. And until they've been built up again, which Rupert Lowe and Restore Britain would like to do, as you said, that's going to take some years, and it is. Like the vital Royal Navy has never, ever been smaller and weaker than it is today. So, Britain should just stay out of foreign adventure wars at the moment, just for common sense reasons, We just do not have the military force to be involved in those things.
Mm.
No, I agree with that because our government typically, I don't know, we must think we still exist in the 19th century or something. Projecting power we don't have anymore. We could get that back, but we'd have to be more nativist for a bit at least.
Well, look, I mean, the other thing I liked about Rupert Lowe's take was he said British forces should only get involved in foreign wars when there's a direct British interest. And that's what made me say, yeah, I'm fully in support of having a warship in the Middle East because keeping the sea lanes open down there is a direct British military interest. I think that's a very good and sensible idea, just as I support having a British warship in the Pacific so that people who are our friends in that part of the world, like the Australians and the Japanese, etc., can see that we're interested. That stuff is good. That stuff is pro-British. What I don't agree with is pouring millions away in terms of military kit and money into a war that Ukraine can't win. That's a complete waste of time. It's also very cruel because of the hundreds of thousands of people who are dying there in a war that Ukraine cannot win. And also the amount of time that we'll go and do things like, that we'll get the RAF from Cyprus to shoot down missiles aimed at Israel. Why? I've never seen an Israeli jet shooting down any missiles aimed at Britain.
There is that. I do wonder, though, do you think the reason our military is so weak is because we're leaning on the Americans too much?
Oh, no.
Look, this is a different subject. We should do
okay.
But I would just say that all of the British governments certainly since Tony Blair, and including Tony Blair, all of them have cut the British military to ribbons, and particularly the Royal Navy. That's the only thing I'll say.
I never really like the sometimes that the Americans say, and certain people over here say, so they're like, oh, we rely on America for defense so we can have the NHS. It's like you could carve off like the tiniest piece of NHS budget and like triple the size of our armed forces. Like it's not really
entirely true. Entirely true, Adam. 15% of the NHS budget would give Britain twice the size of the armed forces we have now.
Yeah.
Well, I don't want to dwell on it, but it just makes me wonder if the reason we feel like we can cut back our military is because we are leaning on the Americans so much. That's all I'm going to say on the matter. I
think our elites would carve up the defense even if America didn't exist. I suppose. I
hope that's not true. I hope they're not that stupid.
I think they are.
All right, okay.
We appear to have been joined by Ayatollah Mitchell of Staffordshire Shirazi. Inshallah.
It's Ayatollah Mitchell. Okay. Look, guys. I like I said, I'm fully in favour of increasing British defence spending. I'm fully in favour of increasing the size of the British Armed Forces, and in particular the Royal Navy, which is ridiculously weak now. We got 11 frigates and destroyers. We had about 70 in 1982. I think, the Royal Navy realistically needs at least 25 to 30 destroyers and frigates. And we're not going to have half that many even by 2035 at the current rate. It is ridiculous, frankly. But there we go.
Why would they cut the number of ships that you guys have so dramatically?
Well, it started under Blair, and it started because of the Iraq and Afghanistan wars. And what happened was Blair and his band of globalist neocon commies decided that anything that wasn't directly involved in the Afghan war we could cut, because that was the only war we were ever going to have to fight. And so they got rid of large numbers of Royal Navy warships. The best frigates in the Royal Navy were the late batch Type 22s, which were really good and powerful ships. And they were all sold off early. They're still all operating, but for foreign governments. And we kept the Duke class, which are not such good ships, purely because they had smaller crews and were cheaper to run. But now, of course, they're all wearing out because they were designed for a 30-year lifespan. And most of them now are at least 35 years old. And the thumbnails for this stream is a class of 4 frigates. The British Aragon class from 1896-97. All 4 of them were launched within about 18 months of each other in 1896 and 1897. These days, the Royal Navy, not the Royal Navy, the British, are taking something like a decade to build a frigate. It's ridiculous. It's just ridiculous. And the government, you'll get Starmer when he's in the mood. He hasn't said it lately. I guess he's been too worried about Ukrainian rent boys and all the other things that are going on in the Labour Party. But he was trying to beat the war drum about fighting the Russians. I mean, which must have the Russians laughing up their sleeve. I mean, the Royal Navy barely exists. The Royal Air Force doesn't even have 100 combat aircraft these days. And let's remember, you know, the Battle of Britain, there was about 600 there was about 600 Hurricanes and Spitfires. These days, the Royal Air Force doesn't even have 100 combat aircraft of all types. The British Army is 70,000 men and far too many women with very shit equipment, basically. Very shit equipment. Almost no air defense, for example. But yeah, no, let's get involved in a war with Russia. That will go well. It's just moronic.
I always thought like my personal thing is I always thought they hollowed out the army because basically I know like Muammar Gaddafi did the same thing where he hollowed out his own army over the years because he was terrified of a coup. And I know like in this country we almost had a coup with men batting up the helm back in the 70s. So I won't be surprised if Blair and his cronies they just thought to prevent an army coup we're pretty much just going to get rid of the army as actual institution as being anything of consequence. And because you know, as Asman will say, for example, all their enemies are domestic, they're not foreign. Like, you know, they'll talk about Russia, but you know, they won't rearm. They won't they had to be strong armed to safeguard the last steel plants we've got.
Yes, absolutely agree with you, Mitch. Just to answer Brand Sears in the chat, can't man them. You can't man them if you don't pay the people enough for their jobs. You know, if you don't pay people big enough salaries, and if you do not recruit them, and if you are constantly doing DEI recruitment and going on about feminism and diversity and not doing proper Royal Navy ads about, you know, join the Navy and see the world, which is really what used to get people to join. Right. You know, this is another reason why I'm in favor of Royal Navy ships being posted to exotic spots in the world. It's one of the main reasons young men join.
Yeah, I don't buy the idea of like, you know, because for example, you take the Royal Navy back in the days like Queen Elizabeth I, like the wages weren't exactly consistently great, but it was a great sense of adventure and there was a great sense of initiative. And
there was also a good promotion system. There was a good way that you could actually get on in life. You could get promoted within the Navy. There were systems of pensions and all the rest of it. There are ways of increasing recruitment, and basically everything they do now is wrong. They spend far more time trying to get ethnic minorities and women to join the armed forces than they do the straight white guys who are the backbone of the armed forces and always will be.
Yeah, I mean, so that's what I would say. Like, that's what I would say is like, you know, I don't, you know, you could pay terrible wages for the armed forces and people will still join up, provided there's a great sense of like duty. But basically, the masculine side of things just gets shat upon by ironies all the time.
Mitch, what are the RAF going to do with all these useless white guys?
Well, they're going to do what they did with the Red Arrows and put a woman in charge.
Yeah.
Which
I saw them perform, by the way, the Red Arrows here in the US. They're really great. This was years ago.
Yeah, I was going to say a long time ago. These days they've got a woman in charge of them.
Well, they were really awesome.
Great, yeah. Yeah, they've got a woman in charge of them, and the Royal Air Force has actually got a huge shortage of pilots. They're so desperate that they were getting onto guys who left 5 and 10 years ago, trying to get them to come back. And this was purely because they did stop recruiting straight white guys for a while.
Oh.
Believe it or not.
Do you mean that a woman was one of the pilots? Or she's just a commanding like officer?
I have no idea whether she's going to be flying with them. I doubt
I
it.
would hope not.
I doubt
I really would hope not.
Oh, you know that Air Force pilot guy that you subscribe that forget his name. He's been on Lotus Seats, I forget his name. But he said he could vouch for that woman's merit. But yeah, the problem still stands. Like, you know, white straight men get shat upon all the damn time, and it's just a matter of, you know, it's not going to, you know, I'm thinking of, you know, that submarine that literally got squished at the bottom of the sea because the guy, the billionaire behind it, said he doesn't like white straight men because he finds them boring. And what happened was his submarine just got squished because it was poorly designed.
You mean that guy who was taking people down to the Titanic? Yeah.
You know, he didn't like the idea of white straight men building up his submarine, so he had a bunch of like black guys do, I think. And well, that submarine's no more. It just got squished at the bottom of the ocean.
It didn't go too well for them, I have to say. But but anyway, Brent Sears in the chat. Yeah, we could ban them if we were to improve pay and conditions and look at what motivates people to join the armed forces, which has got nothing whatsoever to do with diversity or feminism. And both of those things are actually alien to the whole ethos of the armed forces and will make our forces weaker when eventually we have to fight again, which is going to happen, sure as eggs, the only people who've seen the end of war are the dead, which I believe an ancient Greek said.
Well, I believe, don't you think also too, having gay, like openly gay people in the military, don't you think that, I mean, you were a soldier, that's not something that you guys want.
Openly gay people puts people off joining. And you also have to remember that a lot of the recruits are 18 years old. In fact, some boy soldiers are 17 years old.
Yeah, my dad was 17 when he joined.
And, a lot of parents are not desperately keen for their teenage sons to be around openly gay people with higher ranks. And this should be perfectly obvious. I'm sorry, this is not rocket science.
Doesn't it also just kind of affect the I don't know, the way, the bonding, I guess, the camaraderie of the unit too? I
think it does if they're openly gay. If someone's gay and they keep it to themselves, I don't think it really matters, to be honest.
Right.
But if they don't keep it to themselves, if they openly go around with like rainbow flags and all this other bullshit, then of course it's extremely bad for discipline and morale.
Or you have a transvestite general like we did in the US for a little while.
I think it was an admiral, wasn't it?
Admiral, yeah.
It was an admiral.
That's so unreal. That's one great thing Trump did, though.
The one I liked in the American Armed Forces was the Black American woman who climbed up the radar mask on one of your Arleigh Burke destroyers to put up a thing so she could get internet on the ship.
God, I'm shaking my head right now.
And it could have stopped all their radar working. So if they'd have been attacked, they wouldn't have seen an incoming missile and all sorts of things.
Real.
And she was an NCO. She wasn't an ordinary sailor. She was an NCO.
Oh my God. It would be funny if it wasn't real. It's pretty embarrassing.
She probably thought she was doing it on the top of a public housing block or whatever. So,
I mean, it's not just America, is it? We had that story, I think, that we covered on this stream on SI a while back of the woman captain in the Royal Navy that had like the dinner with the other three like girl bosses on the ship. And while the ship was in maneuvers, and one of them got like thrown around in the room.
That's so funny.
And hurt herself and is now suing the Royal Navy over it.
She's suing the Royal Navy, yeah. And just imagine right, the captain of the ship is not on the bridge when the ship's doing violent maneuvers. I don't think there would be like one Royal Navy captain and 100 who would not be on his bridge when his ship's throwing violent maneuvers in case something goes wrong,
Right.
But no, she's having a lesbian dinner in her cabin.
Get them all out. Just get them out. Not to mention too that they're spending so much money on. I don't know how many courses my ex had to take for, sensitivity and, the sharp thing, which is their whole sexual harassment training. Think of how many hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars and hours are spent on all of those programs.
And we all know that, a paratrooper is on the battlefield, surrounded and outnumbered by the enemy. The thing he needs is sexual sensitivity training.
Oh, right.
That's the main thing he needs.
Well, and my ex was a paratrooper, as you know, and he was in Afghanistan, and I was not cool with the idea of a woman being next to him on the field if he needed to be carried off, if he was injured. She's not going to be able to do it. I mean, some of those girls are pretty big, but
no, she still, but she wouldn't be.
She wouldn't be able to. No,
because I know your ex was a pretty big chap anyway.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's very true. I mean, the same thing applies to Royal Navy ships or anyone's ships. If you're wounded and in a flooding compartment somewhere, how is some poxy little woman going to get you up a very steep steel ladder to the next compartment?
Right.
And so she's not going to be able to. You're going to drown.
And if you're unconscious and it's your dead body weight there, I mean, that's a totally different ball game too than carrying somebody who's able to assist in a way. Yeah,
you're just going to drown. It's
right.
The same as, we've probably all seen the videos of firemen training with women, and women will be trying to bash a door open with an axe, and they just can't do it because they're not strong enough.
Right.
They just can't do it. They haven't got the body strength to do it. So why are they allowed to do the job? Because they can't.
Because they don't want their feelings to be hurt. They want any girl who wants to dream that she wants to be anything she wants to be. She should be able to, right? Who cares how many people will die?
And yet, these days,
let her have her dream.
And yet, Aubrey Alley, these days, there is a little glimmer of realism coming in that they don't want transvestites in women's sports because the transvestites are a lot stronger.
Right.
And
I mean, it's a science thing. It's an easily proven thing, right?
Yeah,
it's not that it's even an opinion thing.
Yeah, totally. But the point is, they can recognize this in female sports, but they're still trying to have women doing things like riot control in the police, firefighting, and being soldiers and sailors. It's stupid. It's like there's some block in these people's brain that they can't push through to the actual reality. There's some things women are no good at.
Right. I'm sorry, there are just certain things that men do better and certain things women do better. And it's this denial that we're living in. It's just ridiculous. I like the story you told about your son on the ship with the women that were training the officers. Remember, and you said that.
Oh, that wasn't on a ship. That was in a flooding simulator.
Oh, simulator.
These are giant things, which are a bit like the flight simulators for airlines, but they're much bigger than that even. So they move in all different directions, and you can flood them with thousands of gallons of cold salt water. And they do them for sailors to learn damage control. Because, there's two ways to sink a ship. You either set it on fire in such a way that the fires can't be put out, or you put enough holes in it that the sea water comes in and it sinks. Two ways you sink a ship, destroy a ship. And so they teach them in these massive damage control things. And when chicks get sent on this, they almost invariably end up in the corner crying because they can't cope with the thousands of gallons of freezing cold seawater coming in. And they end up standing in the corner crying while the blokes try and do what they're supposed to do. And this is not once, this is general. What happens nearly every time they do it.
Right.
You know, it's like the most popular thing I ever put on X, which you can still find on X if you want to look at my account. It's a long way back. Was British. It was called British Army Girls, and it was these two girls in the British Army who could not get over a 4-foot wall. They had
it was higher than 4 feet. It was
it was a 4-foot wall.
Oh God, that's terrible.
And they had no equipment on. They had no kit. They certainly weren't carrying a weapon or ammunition. They just had their basic uniform on, not even a helmet, and they couldn't get over the wall.
So listen, this is the last thing I'll say for a moment, then, and let you guys talk. But I played paintball one time. I've told you this story before, Duke, with a bunch of my guy friends in high school, and these guys were like really into it, and I had this terrible, crappy like rental gun, and they all had these like fancy guns, right? We get out there and these guys are like they're running all over the place. I hid in a foxhole for like 3.5 hours while we played this game, and I didn't get out. I didn't come out of there at all. I mean, we're just not meant for, and that was freaking paintball. But I just kept thinking about what if this was like a real life war situation. This is just not the way that our minds work, women's minds.
Well, don't forget the other thing that happens with women in military units is whenever they're going to be sent overseas to a war situation, amazingly high numbers of them suddenly get pregnant because they can't be sent. So all of a sudden they'll all be pregnant, so they can't be sent there, which kind of makes it pointless having them in the first place.
Trick there.
Yeah, but anyway, look, guys, we've been going just over an hour. So we're going to move on. I'm just going to do a little bit of channel admin. Guys, if you want to support the channel, please hit the like button. That thumbs up button really does help the channel. Doesn't cost anything. Takes you about a second to do. So please do like the stream. And also, you can support the channel on Entropy. And I notice we do have one Entropy chat already from Garen. Thank you very much, Garen. And you can also ask Super Chat questions on there. So if you want to ask the panel anything, you can do so, and we will address those towards the end of the stream. Mitch, did you have the first subject for this evening?
Share it.
While he's trying to think of something, just to quickly interject about the Iran situation, Trump has formally come out and says that he's confirming the death of the Supreme Leader. At the moment, the Iranians still haven't formally announced anything. So, yeah, it sounds not like he is dead, but we'll have to see.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm sure the Americans had excellent Mossad intelligence as well as satellite stuff and all the rest of it. So, yeah, Mitch, your thing's on the screen, mate.
Yeah, so this is by that Jack Hadfield fella, and yeah, I suppose just respond to like his arguments. So he's talking about how Rupert Lowe, 10% before restore, 50,000 members inside of like 24 hours. He says, like, for example, he says reform are poised to destroy the Uniparty and usher us in a new party. It's like that's hollow after all the Tory defections, to say the least. Like you got, Nadeem. For example, you got Nadeem Zahawi, which is the worst one for me. And it needs fleshing for some of our critiques, like saying about the Muslims, the lack of trust in Farage. Then he goes on about how he's been involved in right-wing politics for over a decade, and he's saying essentially that we must hold fast in faith of reform.
Does he address the transplanting of the Johnson cabinet into reform?
Yeah, I think he talks about it later.
Well, the thing is, you see, that the Reform are not going to break the uni pie because they're becoming the uni pie. As Atman said, they're just becoming the so-called, in air quotes, conservative party Mark II. That's all Reform are doing.
I mean, did any of you see the Dr. David Bull interview? I forget. I don't think it was Sky News or BBC.
Oh yeah, because I remember posting about it at the time. Because my theory about the by-election was I reckon Reform did a controlled demolition of Matt Goodwin, because I think like some people say that Matt Goodwin's containment. I don't know that for sure, but Reform certainly are containment, and I think they've thought of Matt Goodwin as being too far along. Because he dared to say something along the lines of, "Well, just because you have a passport doesn't mean you're one of us," and they're doing that too far right. So they put him in there. I remember seeing something where it said the Green Party had 2,000 volunteers passing out leaflets and so on in the course of a by-election. Meanwhile, Reform had half that, even though Reform's got like double the membership that the Greens have on paper. So,
for anyone in the chat who doesn't know, David Bull, who is the gay chairman of Reform, I think he literally is gay. He basically called Goodwin a racist on an interview just after the stream, just after the election. He was being interviewed by a black guy, of course. And so Goodwin accusatorially interviewed, it might be said, by the way. And so Bull just chucked Goodwin under the bus and said, "Yeah, I think he was too racist," which tells you everything you need to know about Reform and the fact that they are just contained. They just are.
Yeah, and I would say the thing about someone like Matt Goodwin, he's a guy who works behind the curtains, like formulating policy. So the fact that they put him up for a by-election candidate, and you got the fact that the guy's not charismatic. I mean, there's that clip that goes around where he sounds like Alan Partridge going, "Oh, Sam, the Greens want to legalise cocaine, stop him as a robot," and very monotone delivery.
Yeah,
I will say though, despite that, Reform didn't do too bad. Like, considering like they're throwing him under the bus and they're having this sort of like little bit of like internal drama where they're banging on about, and they're also going on about like the family voting and stuff like that. But like they doubled their vote share from the last election in a Labour stronghold. Like,
no, but they came third. If I'm not mistaken, didn't they come third to even Labour?
Labour was third, Reform second.
Oh, like Labour, because look, I mean, like, I like more details on the demographics of that, because like there's obviously a left split between the Green Party and the Labour Party.
Basically, you have I think it's Denton, where basically it's all ethnic minorities, while the other half is where.
No, it's the other way around, Mitch. Denton is the white, while Gorton is the ethnic part.
Yeah, so very sort of segregated.
Yeah, Sky News had a good breakdown of this actually. Oddly enough. Just going on there, just being like, "Oh, this is how the sectarianism splits down in your average British constituency now."
They did, but also I'd say this: if you look at the Green vote, and then you look at the Labour vote and the Lib Dim vote, I've decided I'm going to call the Lib Dems the Lib Dims from now. If you look at the Green vote, it went up by almost exactly the amount that the Labour vote and the Lib Dim vote went down. So that's where the Greens got their votes from. Now, all right, many of them were Muslims for sure, but they would have been voting Labour if they weren't voting Green. So
that's what I mean. That left vote was split, and I find that perplexing.
Because
Sorry, because
it was also a low turnout, guys. There was
no, that's not. People keep saying that. Like, by-elections do usually have low turnout, but this one actually had, like, in this one the turnout was 47%. It was only 48% at the general election, though. Like,
okay.
It's actually like, oddly enough, usually by-elections are usually like 10 to 20% lower, and this one, it's about the same.
I get what you're saying, but I mean, under 50% is appalling anyway, however you look at it. But I'd love to know how many of that 50% were average white dudes who just couldn't be asked.
Duke, I did look into this, and I've got a stat. The notional results for Gorton and Denton, because the constituency was only created for the 2024 general election, they have a notional results for 2019 if it had existed, and the notional results were something like 61% turnout, and the general election of 2019 was 65% overall. So yeah, so there's a 14% drop over the last several years. And the Labour candidate in that who won like 30,000 votes and was like 65% of the electorate. So you can see that I worked it out. Basically, 9,000 people have just dropped out. Basically, so Reform only needed to get 5,000 them to bloody vote for them, and they could have won that seat. But no, they couldn't be bothered to do that.
It was a very poor Reform performance. It really was. For a political party that was supposedly riding on the crest of the wave, not even 4 months ago, 5 months ago. They were getting 33% in polls in some places, and now they're on 25. I completely support Rupert Lowe and Restore Britain. I think that Reform and Nigel Farage are containment. And as Altman's already mentioned, they're just importing the whole of the Conservative cabinet into Reform. So why would you want these traitorous failures? Why would you vote for Reform are not doing well, even on their own way of looking at things, and people talk about, Rupert Lowe and Restore Britain are going to split the right. They're not going to split the right, because Reform are not a right-wing party any more than the so-called Conservatives were. They're not a right-wing party. They're a centre party.
I don't know. I think if you go and listen to like Danny Kruger, for example, right, and it's like when Danny Kruger said the comment about the Afghans, that if they're born here, they're British. And I think he even went as far as to say if they've been here for 5 years, they're British. I might be mixing that up with someone else in Reform, though. Ironically, if you look at that on a rhetoric versus policy basis, that's slightly to the right of Labour, but slightly to the left of Labour, sorry. But it is actually kind of in line with the general public if you take them on what they believe in polls.
Which we shouldn't, because we all know that people want to be liked, and so they give nice answers.
I don't think it's that they give nice answers. I think it's just that most people don't understand. I mean, funny enough, Matt Goodwin actually has good polling on this, where he's covered the fact that people believe that immigration into Britain is about 1/10 what it actually is. But regardless, based on the information that's available to them, the stances that they have do seem to kind of. I would say that if you were to take Reform on both their immigration and their economic policies, we could probably just argue that they're a mild centre-right party. But also, I just don't believe
very mild, very mild, I'd say. Did you see the lefty moron who got interviewed in that by-election constituency? White guy who said, "I'm not interested in Reform or anything on the right." And this guy was so dumb. He turned around and said, "We don't have any boats turning up here," because, of course, it's not a coastal constituency. He said, "We don't have any boats turning up here. That doesn't worry us at all." Because, of course, the government's not moving them inland afterwards. But, some people are just so dumb.
Yeah, I mean, I heard that as well. And it's like, there is this sort of weird, because I was trying to kind of get in, trying to think what sort of, because I was thinking about this whole strategy where Restore says that they want to go after people who don't vote. And I'm always kind of a little skeptical of that, because of course, a large chunk of people who don't vote also don't vote because they're probably a bit lazy and
what do you mean come after them? Like there be a penalty?
No, get them to go out and vote, persuade them to vote for Restore rather than
just trying to get them to. Okay, got it.
And so I was kind of listening to that guy, and I was like, what's this voting bloc? What does he represent? And he kind of flip flops, because at 1 minute he's like, "Oh, I don't believe what they say," and I'm like, "Okay, so he can be persuaded, and then he's like, but then he comes out with like the shit lib pro-immigration answer, and I was like, what is this?
I do wonder about the British public, because again, I get into arguments with reform cultists all the time, and their crux of their argument is most of the public are left wing. And I really liked Academic Agent's video about why this is rubbish, but I do wonder how long we've lived in this 1984 Ministry of Truth, because I just wonder how badly the British public are brainwashed on this, and if they're left to their own devices, what their actual views might be.
Yeah,
because I don't believe that the public are this left wing without guidance.
No.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's been the propaganda of the mainstream media, etc., has been running a pretty high tilt for many years, long before 2000.
Oh, same thing here. Absolutely. I think they try to, make it sound like we're so much more skewed toward the left than we really are, than your typical average family.
Schools, and teachers most teachers in schools, not all of them, but most of them, complete left-wing propaganda. But I still think the general public is more right-wing, actually. I mean, one of the problems reform is going to face is, I think, that there's a big gap between the reform leadership, people like Nigel Farage, Zia Youssef, and all the former so-called conservatives, and the general reform membership base. I think the membership base is to the right of the actual leadership, to be honest with you.
Oh, without a doubt. And I sometimes wonder this programming that's happened to the general public. I don't think even 1984 Ministry of Truth level programming can overwrite our tribal needs. I mean, I think they try and contain it using sporting events, possibly, but you can't suppress that kind of tribalism that is innate in most animal species, let alone humans. So I think that's like the last frontier that the left will never be able to break fully.
Yeah, I mean, this is a large part of what the whole individualism thing was, wasn't it? Like they couldn't get people to push in a certain way usually on like certain social values. Even if you take, for example, something like gay rights, right? Like the gay demographic is so small. Most people don't really encounter all that many homosexuals in their day-to-day life, so their ideas of gay people come from like the TV. And it's like you can actually kind of see this a little bit when it comes to like blacks, comparing blacks in the UK to blacks in America. Like in America, you have Basketball America fatigue, right? And people talk about a lot, and it does seem to be quite a widespread thing. And yet in the UK, that's nowhere to be seen. And again, it's because they're like 3% of the population. Like a huge swathes of the country can go about their lives without ever interacting with one in a particularly serious manner. So that helps a lot as well, which of course the British government seems to be dead set on burning for all their capital on by doing this whole rural visas thing and shipping these people out to the countryside everywhere they can.
In the US though, the black population is a lot smaller than they would make you think too.
Yeah.
Isn't it like 13% or something?
Yeah.
Like that.
Yeah, well here it's 3%. So
yeah, well, no, I know, but I'm just saying they make it look like that's so much like the huge part of America. I mean, they try to make it sound like it's like 40%, 30%, something like that, and it's not. And I mean, we're rapidly gaining.
Well, they're also concentrated in particular areas. But I mean, the other thing that is true. The other thing that is true in the US and also in America and even in Australia, believe it or not, is that they're vastly overrepresented on the mainstream media in terms of their actual population.
Right.
So the real question for me is, I'm trying to think the best way to phrase this, but like, I have been thinking about what the Reform Court is to say, because I mean, I'm obviously believe with all my heart that Restore is the way to go. I don't have a doubt about this, but what's been driving me crazy, sort of like the reason the Reform Court is staying on there is because they believe Reform can win where Restore have no chance of winning, and it's because they believe the public are left wing, and that's what I'm trying to wrestle with at the moment. Because like I'm finding it difficult to argue that the public aren't left wing. The best I've got is because the public are brainwashed.
Well, yeah, I mean, I always say to them, like, not that I actually meet any of those types, but if I'm ever arguing with anyone else about this, I just say, well, like, can you point me to a single party ever in the UK that's had, like, since Windrush, that have had serious ambitions about gaining power in a general election, that have campaigned on increasing immigration? Like, there isn't a single one.
Yeah,
They all do the opposite.
Even Labour don't do that.
Yeah. I mean, even like Tony Blair at his most powerful said he was going to be firm but fair on immigration.
It's also worth pointing out that Restore Britain got to 100,000 members in only 15 days, which was lot faster growth than Reform ever managed.
It wasn't in this because they're counting their members from when they were a think tank, which was when I was a member. So when they say 100,000, they were really starting at like 40 to 50,000.
Yeah, sure. And I will get Nigel Farage to send you a letter to come and work for him.
And I don't know as well.
I'm joking, by the way.
When they get registered as an actual
political
party. Yeah, when they get registered as an actual political party, I don't know how, because I don't think you can handle membership for a political movement the same as you can for a political party. So I don't know how they're going to transition that over.
I've got no idea, but I don't think it will be very complicated. I mean,
no. I did also hear a lot of people.
The worst thing they could do is turn around and say to people like me and you, you need to join again. In which case, I will for sure. So.
Yeah,
so you're like one of the original members. Then, huh?
I think Atman was as well.
I mean, that's pretty cool, actually.
Yeah, no, I signed up. Atman signed up. I don't know when Mitch did. I think AI did. Sorry, William Grenville. I mean,
I did. I did hear one of the criticisms that some of the Reform people were making was that you can join Restore from anywhere in the world, and they were claiming that that's illegal. I mean, one of the odd things is that there actually aren't that many restrictions around political parties. A lot of how they do their structure is individual to them. Yes. Because of course we were once a high trust society and it didn't really matter that much. And so okay, I think you do have to be a British citizen to be a member of Reform, but actually you don't have to be a British citizen or even living in the UK to be a member of Labour or the Conservatives. It is very much down to the party and how they want to run it. In fact, Labour have a group called LI, which is Labour International, which is
I think also, Adam, I mean, again, this would be easily fixed. I mean, all Restore would need to do would be to bring in, I don't know, associate memberships or something for people overseas.
Yeah,
it's not difficult to fix those things. Adam, sorry, Mitch, this was your subject. Did you have anything else you wanted to say on it? And we derailed it a bit there, I'm afraid.
Mitch, you're still muted.
You're muted, mate.
Yeah, so the long and short of this section is like, I mean, I'm just a fraction of the way through so far. This fraction is basically him talking about saying, well, Reform and Restore say the exact same thing about, you know, negative immigration and deporting illegal immigrants. And somehow saying that like Reform are more stringent than Restore on the topic of indefinite leave to remain. And also that Farage is a massive fan of Enoch Powell and Maggie Thatcher.
Well, Maggie Thatcher was not particularly anti-immigration, as far as I remember, and I voted for her. For God's sake.
Well, there was negative immigration for every 80s. So
yeah, but the thing with the Powell thing is that is true. He used to actually invoke Powell a lot back in the day, but the problem isn't like, can you find a bunch of quotes of him talking about how much he likes Powell? The problem is, does he hold up the stance on immigration that he used to have? Has it survived till today? And that doesn't seem to be the case. That's kind of the issue.
yeah, because he mentions like this part where like there's that famous clip that goes around about like, you know, Freud saying, well, you have to be slightly ahead of public opinion, but not be so far that they renounce you. And it's you know, like he uses that argument to say, well, Farage is secretly based Farage, basically. Like he's told him Overton window our way. That's his argumentation, and he's sticking up for ordinary people. He's been in politics for a long time, shrewd, blah blah blah.
I mean,
Walks
sure, but I
away,
don't think
walks
he's. I don't
away
think
each
he's.
time.
I don't think he's moving the Overton window by calling people racist.
No, and also he's also very inclined to just walk away. I mean, look at the Brexit vote. He won, and then instead of staying there and fighting for a real Brexit, which is what those of us who voted for it all wanted, he just walked away. And allowed Alexander Johnson to fudge it.
Stood aside to let him fudge it as well.
To be fair, like the other option was Jeremy Corbyn getting in, so that's why it's called a bit of slack on that one. So, but yeah, I mean, it comes across like a drama about when Rupert Lowe said mass deporting communities involved in the web gangs, and Farage, of course, shed bed over it. Jack says something along the lines of, you know, oh well, Rupert Lowe also started saying stuff like Farage had too much of a messiah complex and that he wasn't the right guy to lead. You know, he's basically saying, well, Farage chucked him in because of that element of betrayal. But it's like, well, after that conference recently, where Farage literally said, oh yeah, he chucked out Rupert Lowe because he was going too far on the topic of like mass deporting communities involved with the web gangs. You know, I mean, he's saying like, oh well, Farage is talking about mass deportations, actually serious about it this time because now he's far ahead in the polls. You know, he's saying they're officially committed to mass deportations, net negative immigration. He's saying it's a strategic approach. Like he's saying, well, he said about in the Stephen Edgerton interview because, well, Reform wasn't polling that well at the time, which I'm thinking, meh.
So you think that they are seeing that it was working pretty well now for Rupert Lowe, and so now he's trying to like double back on it? Is that what you're saying? Like Farage's?
Yeah, I mean, but there's the argument about Farage. Like, some people like Jack Hadfield, he's arguing, oh well, Farage, he's strategic. You know, he originally said it was impossible, so that way he won't get bombarded with being called racist or and other stuff. And it's like, well,
who cares? Who cares if you're called racist? Someone calls me racist, I laugh.
Because I thought he kind of ran on this a bit, that he was talking about like, and then he's kind of gone wishy-washy since he. Right. I mean, wasn't he running on?
I don't think. I think Nigel. I think what it is with Nigel Farage was he was in charge of UKIP when the Brexit vote came through. In my opinion, the reason Nigel Farage got so big is he was literally holding the ball of being head of UKIP when the vote got through. And as I've said on other streams, the reason that vote got through was David Cameron wanting to put the Conservatives in line. I think it had very little to do with Nigel Farage, in my opinion.
Mercian, you are 100% correct. The reason we got a referendum on membership of the horrible, vile European Union was purely because it was the way of stopping a split in the Conservative Party. That was all it was for.
and it backfired on David Cameron because
and it backfired because it was that the EU was not liked in Britain at all.
I don't know. It probably never has been. I don't know whether it's my working class roots or anything, but I don't know anyone within the working class that ever liked the EU or anything they've ever done.
My father, when they had a referendum on it, not long after we joined, after that gay scumbag so-called conservative Ted Heath took us into it without any sort of referendum. When they had the referendum on it later on, my father voted to leave. 100%.
I mean, the other part is, I think the reason the working class they don't feel like they benefit from it, but the people who are for the EU are basically people like Jeremy Clarkson, who basically just want an easier way to get to the south of France or wherever they're going. And I don't think the working class see that as any benefit to them. I think
and it wasn't hard to go to France or Spain or Norway or anywhere you wanted to go before.
It's not now.
It's not now. Yeah, it's not difficult. It's just nonsense. It's nonsense. We're not part of the USA, but plenty of British people go to America. It's just so fucking stupid.
But
to be honest, I mean, I go over there quite often, and it's basically the same as it ever was. Like, even when we were in the EU, because of the differences between like the Schengen zone and stuff like that, we didn't. You still had to go through some checks. It wasn't like passing between like France and Germany. And it's literally just the same now. I mean, I haven't noticed any difference in all my times going over there.
I kind of like going through some customs and stuff because
I wouldn't argue that now.
You're going somewhere else,
Yeah, you haven't been through British customs in a while, though, have you?
No, not in a while.
It is a third world experience. Like, if you go through like an airport in Italy and they treat you really nice, the security will check. They'll check you over. They might even stop you and go through your bag, but they're still very polite about it in the sort of Italian policeman-esque way. And then you land in Britain and it's just some Jeep just screaming at you.
Oh, for sure. I can believe that. I wouldn't take kindly to that myself.
They laughed at me in Istanbul because my passport picture was really terrible. I asked the woman to retake it and she wouldn't do it. And they laughed at me. The guy, they've got machine guns like over their arms, and the one guy like looks at it and he goes, "This is not you." And I said, it's just a really bad picture. And he grabs the guy next to him. He's like, "Look, you think this is her?" And he's like, "No." I was like, "Oh my God, it's a bad picture."
Oh no.
Yeah. Anyway,
I think I grabbed my own point I was going to make because Aubrey was asking about was Nigel Farage. Nigel Farage, even in UKIP, bragged about how he took down people right of him. That's been his entire political career. I stopped BNP, which that wasn't even true, but he brags about it. He bragged about
constantly. That's his proudest boast. I stopped the British National Party. Yeah, and as you say, Mercy, and he didn't. I mean, the British National Party had its own internal problems, but that's what he boasts about most, which tells you all you need to know about Nigel Farage, really.
Yeah, and it's sort of like, I'm the one who stopped the right wing joining the UKIP party, essentially, or the far right, the far right boogeyman. He's always he hasn't even shifted to the left. It's always been his opinion, and the reason that general public think he's far right is because the media tell them he's far right. And I've always been arguing, while reform was our only option, the only reason reform are doing well is because people think they're racist.
Yeah. I mean, funny enough,
they were the only game in town.
Exactly. Yeah,
reform were the only game in town.
A lot of the media being hypercritical of reform actually does most of their marketing for them. It's pretty shocking.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with that. Yeah.
Mitch, did you have much more to say about this?
I'm halfway through it. So on the topic of like reform taking the Tories, he says, well, they're taking in like the marginal voters. And these are people who voted for David Cameron. Therefore, he must take in guys Danny Kruger and Robert Jenrick to confer legitimacy upon reform. And he's also saying, like, he's saying, like, for example, for example, he says of a Jenrick, well, Jenrick has a solid anti-immigration record, according to him, like, according to Jack. He's got Braverman, who said, like, she herself was not English. I mean, to be fair, like, Braverman is one of the least objectionable ones for me. Like, she doesn't try to ape our identity, unlike others. So she's a bit more tolerable, in my opinion. So, but yeah, you got Jenrick, who let in the Afghans. Yeah, it's like, I think this is funny where he says, "Oh well, he can't offer good justification for Nadeem Zahawi, but he reckons that the idea that Nadeem Zahawi got a cabinet post is all BS." I was like, because it wasn't announced, and I'm sort of thinking, do you think Nadeem Zahawi joins Reform for the pure shits and giggles? Like, he joined it because he was going to get a cabinet post. Like, he's not the kind of guy to just jump ship purely for the sake of it. Like, so yeah. And, they said they needed experienced guys. Well, Nadeem Zahawi, well, the main experience he's got is literally just for all the COVID stuff. So, yeah. I mean, compares it to, like, Tony Benn, a guy socialist fella who had the peerage. And, yeah. Then there was a time where Dudley North. I think there was this Tory guy named Marco Longhi who replaced the original Reform candidate in that seat, and basically said, like, well, endorse the Tory fella, especially in the last election, because he didn't want to tear Britain apart. Blah blah blah. Hold on, I'm getting mixed up. Yeah. No, sorry, it was Rupert Lowe. It was something about Nigel Farage. But yeah, I don't know. As I said, this was 2019, so it's a different world to what we have now. Where, like, back then, it was literally Boris Johnson or Jeremy Corbyn, and I've never voted Tory, so I'm innocent of that. But I'm not going to harangue people too much for voting Johnson, just to avoid Corbyn. So, it's like.
I mean, what do you think about the academic Asian position that if Corbyn had got in, we wouldn't have had as much immigration as the Boris wave, and it'd have been.
I really do not agree.
Yeah, I think he's misremembering that.
I think, in fairness to AA, I think what he was trying to say is that it wouldn't have meant any real difference because the Tories fucked us over anyway. I think that's more.
I mean, AA did a stream where he went through the Labour manifesto for 2019. And I remember reading the manifesto myself as well. And now I don't know why, but I seem to think he's misremembering some of it, because he was arguing at one point that Jeremy Corbyn would have stopped the debanking stuff because he was talking about having, like, bank account rights, but that's not what the manifesto said. What the manifesto said was that they were going to ring fence taxpayer money to have a section of the banks dedicated to social justice abroad, which is not the same thing. But I think some people are trying to whitewash Corbyn a bit, and people are kind of slightly misremembering certain things about that period. But
Corbyn was a commie, basically. Is a commie, basically.
And of course, the thing is, with this Gorton and Denton election, I mean, a lot of the Green strategy is just trying to tap into Corbynism. They want to rejuvenate that one moment of grand success that they felt like they had, which really only lasted as long as there was no one in opposition to vote for.
I would be interested.
I was just going to say, as far as I could see, looking at that by-election, the Greens were selling themselves to the Pakistanis, etc., on two things. Firstly, they were pro-Palestine, big deal. I don't give a fuck about Palestine one way or the other. I don't support it. I'm not particularly against it. I just don't care about them. But the other way was, we're going to give you money from British taxpayers, basically.
Yeah, that was it. I do wonder how much of the Green Party rhetoric revolved around any green policies whatsoever. I mean, I wonder if it was it's Denton where all the white people are, and I did see a couple of wards within Denton had voted green. I just wonder if they focused instead of sort of like, oh, this lovely green policy, we'll plant more trees or whatever bullshit the Green Party say.
Yeah, apparently they did heavily sort of segregate their campaign depending on who they were talking to. I mean, they literally just did the Pakistani community ads in Urdu. So
all I saw was videos of overweight, middle-class white cat women dancing around in Palestinian scarves.
Well, you say that in that clip, they had the guy who was the Green councillor that shouted Allahu Akbar when he won. I think that was, what year was that? It wasn't that long ago. And yeah, maybe. And they got him back out, but this time he's wearing like a flat cap and like a wool jacket. When Morgoth posted that video up and I saw that, I was like, "Oh, Zach, you crafty dog, you!" Like,
and of course, the Green Party also wants to legalize heroin and crack cocaine and you name it.
I mean, I imagine that's a policy for the white areas, but
yeah, probably. Yeah.
So, really quick question: in America, the liberals that are like the most rabid, right, are the American, of course, the women that are middle to upper class, like, educated women, professionals, right, that are the kind of crazy liberals. Is that the case with you guys too?
A little bit. So, I mean, the thing is, if you go above a certain age, how old would they have to be? Once you go above a certain age, the amount of people that went to university like falls off a cliff.
Okay.
And it does seem to be that the women that are into that sort of political movement are kind of slightly on the older side, like middle-aged and upwards to, I don't know what the upper age is, but it's not massively high.
Okay.
But, and when you get into the younger years, I mean, the younger years are a funny one because on polling, they seem quite politicized and they're a huge mass of them are very left and then a small subset of them are very right. But actually, they don't end up being that politicized when it actually comes down to it. Because, I mean, I was at an event that was on a university campus that was like a far right event. And the uni newspaper found out about us and broadcast it, and no one showed up. Like no one even came by to have a look, and we were right in the center of the campus. Like nothing happened. They do seem to be pretty unpoliticized in a way that you don't see in other parts of the Anglosphere.
I think there's less of there's a big difference between men and women in the US. In terms of a left-right split, there's less of a difference in Britain.
Okay.
Well, you say that I've just, if you share the image that I've got up, this allegedly is if women 18 to 50 were to vote, and
Yeah,
as you can see. Like, there's a lot of women 18 to 50 that would vote Green, and I would like to question them on that, why they want to vote Green. Because, I mean, let's face it, I mean, like, the idea of being environmental, I don't really have too much of an issue, even though I'm like a car guy and the car's the most polluting thing on the planet. Like, I'm not opposed to being environmental. But what environmental policies are the Green Party?
But the Greens are not environmentalists. The Greens are wealth redistributionists, really.
But like I mean, I don't want to get into like schizo psychology stuff, but aren't women like really high in agreeableness, and the Green movement is like the ultimate agreeable movement?
I would say most of them are.
because they believe in lies, basically. The like global
You're
warming.
easily swayed by emotion.
Yes.
I mean, all women are inherently right wing, but we live in an age where you don't get held to your inherent beliefs. You get to wear your beliefs like a status symbol or like a luxury position.
Well,
Right.
I mean,
So,
the other thing is, we'll put aside the third worldism and the other left wing things of the Green Party for a moment, right? But I imagine a lot of those women are going to be like drivers. I can't imagine the Green Party are going to be more lenient on drivers than the Labour Party is now. So this sort of stuff it will affect them. They're just not thinking. I've got no self-interest at all. Or is it just keeping up with the Joneses voting?
I think it's literally like a little bit of an hysteria, that like a contagion with women in this day and age now. And I feel like they don't think for themselves very, very well. I don't know. It's the most bizarre thing. Um, I don't
I
know.
wonder if the average woman who would vote Green, right, even if they're leftists or not, pick out the policies that would affect them on a day-to-day basis.
Right.
Like I said, like it's going to get more expensive for you to drive a car, and they've got all these policies here. Are you for or against this? Go through every policy such as that, and then find out where they really want to be.
I think I think their husbands would sit there and say, okay, logically, let's look at how this will affect our budgets. Let's look at how this will blah, blah, blah. And women will still be swayed by freaking emotion. And I think that it's just kind of a sad thing. But I mean, Duke, you've said that you believe that most women are mostly kind of more submissive at heart, right? And I believe that to be true.
I think married women or women in long-term relationships tend to adopt their dudes' attitudes to politics. I think that is true. And it's been proven that married women,
Agreed.
for example, are a lot more conservative than single women. So
And I think that they mostly, though, that we do have this same, like, we have the core desires that have been like imprinted on us for thousands of years, literally, that we want to, I think, be guided, and we want to be, and women everywhere would hate me for this, of course, but I think at heart, we want to be guided. We want to be protected. We want the security and the safety, and we want to be the nurturers. We want to be right but we are so focused on trying to fight this role our society is now, and I think it's a very confusing, honestly, to give women a little bit of leeway here. It is really confusing, and even as far right as I am with my beliefs, like I constantly find myself, I'll say something and I'm like, oh, I better like caution about, oh, I don't mean it like. But yeah, I do. It's just we're so ingrained to quickly jump on like, oh, but I'm not racist, or oh, but I'm not this. There's this sensitivity that's like bashed into us. But I don't know.
You have to stop. You have to stop that. Oh, I'm not racist stuff. You really do.
Well, no, I know. That's what I'm saying. Like, but it's just like instinctively it hits you because we've been taught this since we were in kindergarten now.
You're not gonna be able to get women to step over the whole racism dialogue until men have normalized it. It's not gonna happen. Like,
oh no, 100.
I mean, Woodpit in chat said women used to vote conservative more than men, I believe. Well, yeah, I mean, funny enough, I mean, the thing that destroyed the Liberal Party was giving the vote to women, because all those women just went and voted conservative, and they completely diluted down their lead in the polls by doing that.
I just think that women that are liberal, though, I think that they are truly they're so focused on wanting to stand for something that they feel like they're supposed to believe in. And I think that at heart, women, we are the roles that we're supposed to be. The gender roles are real, and we're just trying to fight them and trying to obscure them. I mean, I don't mean us. I mean in general society, right? Anyway.
Guys, I'm conscious we've been going for an hour and 55 minutes, and we've only gone through 2 first topics. I know
we haven't finished
Alan,
Mitch's topic, have we?
have we finished your topic, Mitch? I don't know.
I mean, I'm still like halfway through it.
Yeah.
Well, listen, this is my plan, guys, just so you know. I'm going to do Alman next because he sometimes has to go off.
Yeah, I don't have a
got
topic, so
I
I'm
haven't
just
got a
here
topic.
for the ride. So you guys.
Okay, Alman, did you have a topic you wanted to talk about?
I was just going to talk about the Gorton and Denton election, but we've covered that a lot anyway. So
Okay, well in that case, Mitch, would you like to finish yours and then we'll go on to Mercy?
You have to screen. I still got mine on a screen.
Okay, hang on, let me put that.
Yeah. So one argumentation he uses about Farage with the Conservatives, he says, well, Rupert works with Conservatives back when Restore Britain was a movement, and it's like, this is a bit disingenuous because working with someone like Gavin Williamson over a rape gang inquiry is not the same as having like putting up a shadow cabinet with former Tories. And also, I mean, and I know Jack works with this kind of thing. Like he said, he put a post on X a while back saying basically, like, it's 2 different kettle of fish to say, oh, well, Rupert worked with Tories during Restore Britain as a movement, and then say that's the same as Farage having ex-Tories within his ranks, even to the point of shadow ministers. But yeah, it's a matter of, like, he's saying, well, Reform's bringing in these former Tories for pragmatic purposes, like, oh, you need experience, blah, blah, blah. And I'm sitting there thinking, well, I think AA probably says it best. Why on earth would you want these failures, like these absolute traitors, anywhere near your party? It's a stupid argument. I just don't buy much into. Like, I mean, a guy who owns a chippy could do a lot more better good at running a country than the last 20 years of government, at least.
Mm-hmm.
My point.
Yeah, I mean, their argument was, Reform's argument was, oh, well, you need people with experience of working in the government. It's like, right, but okay, like, even if they failed, yeah, they have got experience of working in there, but I don't see what can really be gained from having people in there who have a track record of failure doing the same job again, when you could just get 1 or 2 of those guys, and even figures like Dominic Cummings, who really understands the inside of the government, and just have them hash out some workshops for your up and coming potential MPs.
I was about to say, how many guides do you need to get you through some woods?
Yeah, yeah.
And it's also not just that they worked in government and they failed, which they did, but they were also, like, consciously traitors to the British people. They consciously worked against the interests of the real British people. That is something that we need to hammer home about these former Conservatives.
Well, yeah, like Starmer came out a month or so ago and basically made a comment where he's like, after getting into power, I've realised that I'm putting on all these levers and they're not connected to anything. And I'm like, that's more self-aware than any of the Tory MPs that are all being sucked up by reform.
I love the irony that the Blairite traps are actually tripping up the Labour Party now. There's a beautiful irony to it.
Yeah.
So I think this is an interesting what it says. So Restore boasts that mass deportations have overwhelming support. So it says here 52.7% said they'd be more likely to back an MP if they supported mass deportations versus 17.8% who'd say they'd be less likely. And 55% said they'd back the deportation of all illegal immigrants. Even like 41%.
Mitch, how about, though, how many of that 50 whatever percent it was were actual Anglo-Celtic British people? And how many of them were immigrants? Because a certain proportion of them were certainly immigrants. Like, of the people who were against it, is what I'm trying to say. So,
and what's
you
going
know,
to happen over there? Is it
if-
going to be a Minneapolis scene over there for you guys when you start deporting?
It will definitely be in
Yeah.
some areas.
I
like,
sure
Yeah.
hope it's not.
Yeah,
Bristol
Yeah.
and
it's
places
like
that.
it's like stupid how Z Yusuf said he's going to bring in like a UK version of ICE, and I'm sort of thinking, why on earth would you want to replicate that? Like, what you should just like. Whereas Rupert Lowe, like his general gist is, you just do the business. You don't make a spectacle of it. You just do what needs to be done.
Well, but it wasn't made a spectacle until people started coming out in
Well,
droves
I mean, look at
following
what
him.
Trump.
That's the problem.
Right,
Yeah.
Trump's entire campaign about it is he's just making a big spectacle of it. Like people think more illegals are being deported than actually is the case, and it just becomes a massive spectacle just to sort
Yeah.
of give red meat to the base. And it's like, well,
all I was trying to say, guys, is that when you're looking at these polls, looking at how many of the public would support or not support measures of mass deportations, if you only asked white Anglo-Celtic British people, the numbers who would support mass deportations would probably go up quite a lot.
Well,
Right.
funny enough, I mean, I
That's
was
the
just reading the
statistics
page
thing.
actually while you were talking. It says the top line on this is accurate, but diving deeper into the statistics, the numbers are far less kind to restore and even reforms agenda. First things first, for those who support mass deportations, 55% of them think that far more migrants are staying here illegally than legally, an inaccurate assumption. I mean, I mentioned this earlier when I said that like the general public thinks that like legal immigration is like 1/10 what it actually is. I've heard leftists say this as well. I don't get how they think this is a win. Like, oh yeah, by the way, the public's so misinformed on immigration. They think all those people milling about in their town centres must be here illegally because no proper society would bring those people in legally. Oh wow, okay, so we're going to tell them that they're all here legally, and suddenly they're just going to be like, oh, that's okay then.
Yeah.
They're here legally. Like, no,
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
what you know. that's gonna turbocharge those people. I don't get why they think
this is
going
going
to
to come as a
calm anything
big
down.
shock.
Yeah,
Adam, this is going to come as a big shock to a lot of the low information voters and people. That it's the legal immigration that's ruining your town, not the people coming over the channel.
yeah,
and then he says something along the lines of, so, he says about the care worker visa, which is the most abused, and people are less likely to have those guys deported. And I'm not. Like, there's an old guy who lives opposite me who has to deal with Nigerian nurses taking care of him, and he just hates them. Like, he just hates how poor the English is. And it's like there have been numerous cases where these pensioners are dying because the care workers assigned to them can't speak English. Like, they misunderstand what the word blood is.
God.
And he's like, you're telling me that only 30% of the population wants them deported. I mean, if people really knew how bad it is, it's like Andrew Joyce wrote an article, and this was like back in 2018, so much worse now, where he said 26% of our doctors back in 2018 are foreign, but from that 26%, you get 80% of all medical malpractice cases from the NHS.
Scary.
yeah. And now they're close to half of all our doctors.
That is not
I mean,
where
when
you
we
want
had
a
when we had
language barrier.
when we had the junior doctors strike, I mean that was basically just a foreign doctors strike, because so many of we had a cap on medical school places for years, and seemingly they were upset that didn't restrict the flow of native workers into the NHS sector enough, so they then brought in this lottery system. So now we literally have an unemployment crisis among doctors and nurses, where they just, they're even the ones that are trained just can't be connected with jobs because of the way it's been set up.
My God.
And yeah, like the thing is, well, you can go on Facebook, right? You can go on Facebook and you can look up these Facebook groups for like foreign doctors, and I mean, there were some that were posted on Twitter, and they sound pretty awful. They were saying stuff like there was like a person, he's like, oh, I'm from Pakistan, I've got lots of theoretical knowledge but no actual practical surgical experience. What should I do? And they're just like, oh, just sign up as a registrar. They don't check or anything. And the thing is, you can go into the average hospital here and talk to like the nurses, and they're a lot of them are pretty radicalized about the state of the NHS more than I think a lot of people realize. They will openly talk about having to deal with doctors on their units that just shouldn't be there.
And is that who you want taking care of your parents?
Well, yeah,
or
exactly.
your, or your children, or
yeah.
I know that when they employ carers, they usually put the adverts overseas before they even put an advert in this country.
Yeah.
I know a lot
well,
of
there was
we've all seen the videos of so-called carers in old age people's homes, like abusing patients and stuff like that. And they're usually not white, I have to say.
Right. And the thing is, as well, the care industry was overwhelmingly white up until COVID. They say about how they can't get the people for the jobs. They did get them. They do pay poorly, but they did get them. And then they put it on the shortages visa shortages jobs list anyway, Boris's list, and brought huge amounts of them in, and did manage to reduce the wages a little further. But
get rid of some of these illegal people that you've got getting free health care, right? And then use that money and put that toward better pay for these medical workers, and
you
everybody
say illegal,
wins.
But a lot of them are legal too. They come over on student visas, and then they use the fact that they need NHS care as a way of staying.
It's like Carl Benjamin Sargon always says about our immigration policy. They simply can't stamp in people fast enough. Is the real problem with the institutions.
Well, explain to me, guys, why when someone comes over to Britain on a student visa, why can they bring their wife and their family if they're on a student visa?
Well, here's the other thing as well. Like the population of people in Britain with AIDS, I think, has grown by about 5 times over the last decade, and that's entirely because of immigration from Africa. Because they come over here on a student visa, they buy like a 1-year master's degree entry into a uni, which is based. All our universities, even our most prestigious ones, are just visa mills at this point. They come in and then they get NHS care for their AIDS, essentially.
I mean, I went to university in Wolverhampton. I went to Wolverhampton University, and what struck me, and this was like, I don't know, 15, 20 years ago now. What struck me is you barely see a white face amongst the students. You barely see a white face, and it really shocked me.
Yeah, I actually there was one of these stupid like anti-Farage accounts on Twitter, one of these like shit libs, and they were making some comment about some article that I think was entirely made up anyway, about how like reform voters are dumber on average than whatever. And I had a bit of a kick about it because I opened up the study that it was based on, and it didn't say that anyway, but what it did say right at the beginning was like, when controlling for race, and I got a massive laugh at that. But but someone asked Grok a question on Twitter, and I sort of led it on and carried going, and I was like, what groups are least represented in university, like ethnic groups in the UK? And it was like straight away, it's like, white British, and then the most overrepresented groups were black, Asian, and so on and so forth. And it's just
I think you could probably go further than that, and you could probably say white males would be even higher than white British.
Yeah. Well, they were. I think blacks, despite being 3% of the population, were 28% of the university population.
I've been saying for a long time,
academically gifted, eh?
just wait for the white males to start getting lawsuits going, because it should have been done now quite a while ago. But at some point, the pendulum's going to swing, and they're going to be able to, and rightfully so.
Well, yeah, I mean, the thing is, here we've got the 2010 Equality Act, and there was a lawsuit against the RAF because they weren't hiring any white men. But the thing is that people didn't realize with that lawsuit is that they are allowed under the 2010 Equality Act to discriminate against whites. The problem they did there was they didn't hire a single white guy for like a prolonged duration. If they'd hired one token white guy, they could have used that as their defense in court, and they could have said it was fine because it's covered under I forget what they call it, under the 2010 Equality Act. It's like proactive discrimination or something.
Well,
like
don't
that.
forget, you can't be racist against white people.
Well, yeah, that is basically how the law is written.
That's how all the laws are written, yeah. And of course, as we said earlier, that's why the RAF has now got such a bad pilot shortage. It's desperately writing to pilots who retired 5 and 10 years ago to come back.
Yeah, not to wind the conversation back, but just I mean, EF 3833 said in the chat, universities are businesses, and the foreign students, often Chinese, do pay more. Even that isn't actually really true anymore. Like they do love some of the foreign students because they pay a lot, but actually there is actually a means by which foreign students can go through the same student loan system as us, which means they just have a graduation tax. And of course, if they then go home, like, you're never going to be able to get that money back off of them. But actually, most of the time, they just switch to a skilled work visa, which means going and working at a care home. They're never going to earn enough to pay it off. There's no mechanism for them to actually get the money out of them for the student loan system to get the money out of them regardless.
Pretty great.
And it almost
deal for
doesn't
them.
matter. Yeah, and it doesn't matter because the entire student loan scheme in the UK is like a giant hot potato. They hand it to one bank, that bank gets crippled by it, they sell it back to the government hands it off to someone else, and around it goes. So
it's just a Ponzi scheme.
Yeah, really. That's what I was just thinking too.
It's a Ponzi scheme, and also, you know, we're not being replaced. Okay, ethnic replacement is not real, except it is, and you can verify that it is just because of stuff like this. I mean, Britain supposedly takes in people we need from overseas. Does Britain have a shortage of Uber drivers, for fuck's sake?
No.
You know, these things are such obvious lessons that it's like being a parent and having to just sit back and wait for the kids to like make their freaking mistakes and learn from them. You know, it's so frustrating. It's just so frustrating because eventually we're going to bounce back from this stuff, I believe. I hope. But it's like, oh my God, people, come on, catch on.
I understand what you're saying, but the way that the demographics are working, especially in Britain, it's more akin to your child learning not to lie in the fire, and are you going to be all right now?
Yeah,
you know, like that's a lesson you don't want your child to learn.
That's true, because they're going to be hurt afterwards. You're going to have that,
You know, there is I've said before that 2029 is not the end of the road, you know, but I think after 2029,
right,
there will be no political situation to fix things. I'll just leave it there.
It's going to get harder and harder.
Yeah, I've said that about our country as well. Same thing.
Look, I know Adam, for one, is a never say die guy, and I do actually agree with that.
I agree with that. But
yeah.
2029 is the last chance for any political solution, and that I'll leave it there. We won't go any further.
For a relatively easy political solution, I'd agree with you, Martin. Yeah, but it could be relatively painless in 2029. After that, it's just going to get harder. Doesn't mean it can't be done, but it's
no. I completely agree with that. Me and Tharium agree on that. It's sort of like it's not the end of the line. However, don't expect it to be easy. It's gonna be dark times, people.
Well, that's when it'll end up becoming a war situation where you have to take it back your own country, or you have to take land somewhere else. You know. You have to.
Well, again, I'm not going to, because we're on YouTube, I'm not going to speculate on what happens after 2029.
We're not going to Fed post on this channel, and we don't support violence on this channel.
No, and I'm not even saying that that's something we want. I'm just saying that that's what ends up happening in the end. If you You know, you have to
Well,
you have to
I'm
start a
gonna
country
speculate.
somewhere else, right? Let's just say.
I mean, when they sit around and say, well, the real threat is the far right or it's these people, like that will end up becoming true. Like we will be like the sectarian violent group.
It's a self-fulfilling prophecy, Atherman. Yes,
Yeah,
absolutely
yeah.
right. They call us far right. This is one thing where Farage actually was right. He turned around and said, what comes after me will be worse. And yes, when I say worse from the point of view of the globalists and the immigrants. Absolutely, he's right about that.
Yeah, like what do they think? Like even if we're talking like really far in the future when we are actually a minority and we're like 48% of the population, still the largest single ethnic group by quite a way. And we're also white people.
And the most capable.
So, yeah, the most capable. And like, what do they think? And we're also at that point actually genuinely racialized. So what do they think is going to come out of that? Like,
well, yeah, and it's like AA says about elite theory. You know, a small organized group will always outpower a disorganized mass as well. When it gets that organized.
Yeah, and it's like look at the Pakistanis, how they strut about the place, and they're like what, like 5% of the population.
God.
like and they talk now like they talk now as if like they, because they of course live in Pakistani communities, they think that's reflective of the whole country. They, you know, they're incapable of looking anything up or understanding anything. You know, they're going to be all fighting amongst each other, and we're not. Like that's a pretty.
Yeah, I mean, there'll be fights between the Hindus, the Sikhs, and all sorts of things. It's, you know, I mean, we've already saw that in one summer in Leicester as well, over at the cricket.
And we all know how the West Indians and the Africans love the South Asians. Not, but you know,
and the thing is, well, they're already, parties are already doing that to court votes now. I mean, that Urdu advert we were talking about, the Greens one from Gordon and Denton, that had in it like they were depicting Labour as the enemy because he was shaking the hands of Modi. You know, like even there they've got like the sort of brown sectarian messaging already.
In Australia, right? And in Australia is on the same trajectory as Britain, but it's not as far as along. But even in Australia, in Melbourne, the city that is closest to where I live, there was a huge riot about 18 months ago between Hindus and Muslims.
Yeah.
Wow.
Indian Hindus and Indian Muslims, or Pakistani Muslims, I guess. But yeah, huge riot. Nothing to do with Australia whatsoever, but they're here, so they brought their tribal bullshit with them, you know?
Yeah.
Okay, so so for example, it says about how ridiculous it is that Lowe has called for Jeremy Clarkson to join Restore, saying that, you know, there's a lack of credible leadership in Restore. Like Maven Partick, he did his own Substack article about this, where he says that basically it's a lot of, you know, it says it's basically it's a lot of Zoomers who don't have any private sector or academic expertise. They're leapt straight from university into political campaigning, and it's a matter. And apparently, you know, this is not a reflection of competence and merit.
But that's most modern politicians, Mitch. Most modern politicians go straight from university into politics, pretty much.
Yeah, they'll do the same dumb PPE course as well.
Yeah, I mean,
100%.
Yeah. I mean, he talks about, you know, the beautiful loser mentality. It's like, well, okay, but that's exactly what Farage does. Kind of like, you know, like that's exactly what the centre right have done. They just go, oh well, look, we you know, we might not have won. Like that's what Farage did when I didn't get into power, but I did stop the far right from rising. You know, you get guys like him who position themselves as the rhetorical as though they're the rear guard of a system, like just dealing with the likes of us. And it's like, okay, that's beautiful loser. Now, it's one of the things where, you know, if you get Farage and genuinely, it's a matter of we just don't trust him. then what victory is there to be had? Yeah, it's a matter of, you know, if we are defeated under Rupert Lowe, it's a matter of we're being defeated, standing with a guy we believe to be on our side. Whereas if, you know, you win with Farage, it's a matter of how much is that genuinely a victory? Because you know, every day is just hollow.
It'd be like Boris Johnson, Mitch. I think it would, if Farage wins and Reform win the next election, if they do, I think a government of theirs, which apart from anything else would most likely be an alliance with the Conservatives, would simply be like Boris Johnson's government. And just as much as a failure, just as much as traitors to the real people of Britain. So what's the point of voting for that? I don't want Boris Johnson Mark II.
Yeah, and it's so. For example, he says about Reform's guy in Leicestershire said 1/3 of the Tories were Lib Dems, 1/3 decent people, but the other third are essentially just social climbers. And he's saying, "Oh well, Reform have apparently avoided this." And go, well, not really. I mean, as I said, the Tory defections. I mean, they are themselves social climbers. Like, do you think Jenrick is genuine about the country? No, he's for queer. I mean, he's basically he's saying you know, and he's basically saying that same stuff that Alex Phillips would say. Well, if you work with Restore, then you just get blacklisted from the institution. You'll be blacklisted from ever working with like a future Reform government.
Could I, Mitch? Could I just say, and I'm easily the oldest person on this panel, right? The other thing I would point out is that Reform have quite a lot of Boomer support. Yeah, they do, and Boomers are even older than me because I'm not quite a Boomer, believe it or not, almost, but not quite. Whereas I think I'm right in saying, and I'm sure Mercian and Adam and you, Mitch, will know this. I believe that the rate of young Anglo-Celtic British guys joining Restore is really high. Like, a lot of young men are joining Restore, unlike Nigel Farage's Boomers, you know?
Yeah, but the problem, I think that there is an issue that basically the Boomers outnumber my generation. So you can get all the Zoomers to vote for Restore, but the problem is the Boomers just outdo us. Like, there's more Boomers voting for Farage than the total number of Zoomers who'd be voting Restore. I think that's been made.
But it's not just the Zoomers, Mitch. It's like anyone from my age downwards who's actually not a Boomer, you know.
Sure, the Gen Xers vote was Reform on a massive margin as well. So it's really just, it's like people below the age of 40 are more likely to vote Restore, from what I've heard, than Reform.
I'm not too worried about the Boomer vote. I'd be more worried about the silent generation vote, the people who are never online, the few that are with us.
There is the other thing, though. Young men have a lot more energy, generally speaking. You know, you guys do lots more real life stuff than I do because you're young blokes and you're energetic and you can do that. So I reckon to some degree that the enthusiasm and the energy of younger people will help make up for that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm seeing this bit, which so it says, as a political party, it is not even clear that Restore would be able to drag other parties rightward, as what Farage did to the Tories in the last decade. This works as a strategy when you have.
They're already doing it, Mitch. Come on, look at some of the things.
I was going to finish reading it. So this strategy works. This strategy works, where the problem is that people in the party have genuine beliefs which are to the left of the country and have to be subjected to electoral pressure to meet voters where they are. But when a party already to the right of a marginal voter is subjected to right-wing competition, this forces the more electoral party to tack to the centre, as Farage had to do in response to the BNP. And while Farage is having to distance himself from the right, he's unable to push things our way, and the arguments will therefore grow stronger. Yeah. I mean, I nearly headbutted my own screen when I read that the other day because I just thought, like, the thing is, right? It's like we're never going to get an argument. Like, we're never going to like a televised debate between Rupert versus Farage, because Farage would literally have to argue from the left. He would have to argue, well, you're racist. Like,
Mitch, even half the article you've been reading is just trying to say, oh, actually, reform are just as right wing as restore are. Even half that article. So the idea that Rupert Lowe and Restore Britain won't push particularly reform to the right is just fucking nonsense. You know, you've got to be a moron if you believe that. And this guy obviously doesn't believe it because he spends the first part of his article arguing that reform are just as right wing as restore is.
Yeah, it's like I look at. I mean, the main argument I've seen, like, I'm part of like reform supporters, is I was like saying, oh well, reform say the exact same stuff, and I'm like, okay, but no one, few people trust you. Like, that's the different. Like Morgoth said it best: it's the trust factor that makes us go to the store. Because at least with Rupert Lowe, you're not doubting his resolve. Whereas Farage, we just look at him and go, "What am I? What? We don't believe that Farage is fully sincere when he talks about deportations, for example."
Well, Reform have only started putting the right wing accelerator to the pedal as soon as Restore came out, and now you've got like Mohammed Yusuf who resigned his commission about the whole burqa thing. So I forget the female MP that brought it up, and he resigned just to come back as a policy maker. Now even he's saying, "Oh yeah, we'll do the anti-burqa thing," and that was never going to happen until Restore came into the frame.
Yeah, so Reform only started talking about Christian heritage because Rupert started talking about it. And you've even seen the last conference Reform had where Farage was speaking, you notice he's changed the tacky label where it says Reform will fix Britain, like a very flashy looking one. And now it's just like a sort of a more, I won't say bland, but like a more austere looking sign going, leader of Reform UK. So it's because that's the thing, it's all the like the Reform UK events you get where it's like massive fireworks and like karaoke and so on. Basically, it's just boomer daycare. It doesn't really appeal to, let's say, my generation because
it's utterly cringe. And
yeah,
I was born in 1965, Mitch, and to me, it's utterly cringe. I mean, people rightly say it's like 1970s Butlins or something.
Yeah, it's like you got facts. So I know Sargon did a video back in December where he said basically, like, you know, my generation, we always have cold faces. Like, we don't really smile that much compared to younger generations because of how thoroughly disappointing the world is, to say the least. Like, we're inheriting a country that is basically set towards some sort of kind of stuff that David Betts talks about all the damn time. And it's and it's no wonder why Zoomers, like, we don't smile as much as, let's say, you know, the millennials used to smile when they were at school.
That is so sad, honestly.
So I'm an older millennial, Mitch, and I have that cold face, but it might be because I grew up in the West Midlands. I think that depends where you were raised as well.
Yeah, I know. I knew one girl who came from like the southwest, and you know she was just. It was a matter of she never had a cold face, but that you got factory. She's from the southwest, which is still one of the whiter parts of England. So she's not. Whereas I've got the more cold face. Like, I don't really smile much when I'm in public, and that's because I have to deal with a lot of diversity in my neck of the woods. And you know, it's like for us, my dad himself, that Lebanese guy on Lotus Eaters, he also says, look, it's the same with Lebanon, where you don't smile in public because you're dealing with all these different ethnic groups, and you can't appear jovial in front of. You have to take yourself seriously when you're out in public.
Are you familiar with I think it was a 9-year-old white boy who killed himself?
Yeah, that was down in Birmingham. Yeah.
What happened?
Right, I'll tell this for you, Aubrey, and for the chat who don't know. I forget when it was, but there was
2018 or 2019. I believe it was.
Yeah. Something I can't remember. Something like that. So, a white boy. Is basically the only white boy in the school. Started to get bullied by the diversity, and basically took his own life, and he was like 8 or 9.
Oh God.
Yeah, and that's the thing, is like you got a situation where in my neck of the woods, I mean, I know guys who are just they're fairly normy, but you prod them a bit, and they'll just say something like, "Oh, they don't like having non-white taxi drivers, for example. They just don't trust them." Like, so it's like the average white lads of my generation, like they're having to live in the reality of group dynamics. They're having to live with the fact that we've literally got these non-whites who are just a fucking menace, and we can't do anything about them. So it's just we just avoid them, and that's why, you know, it's like I know like there are parts of people in reform who say, well, we can't deport loads of people because, well, those people mix with the British. And I'm like, no, we don't. Like, my neck of the woods, it's a matter of people just segregate from them. Like, we just don't have any dealings with the Muslims as far as we can avoid it. So if you were to deport them, I don't think you get much opposition from like, the average mother taking their kid to school or whatever. I remember I said Andrew Gold, I think it was, said back to Steve Laws, and I'm like, no, I'm with Steve Laws on that one. Steve Laws just said, look, but people won't protest against the Muslims being deported because the MMEs, no one wants to associate with them. We just don't particularly like them all that much.
And they don't share anything. I mean, you know, they basically don't go to pubs because they're not supposed to drink. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure there are a few exceptions, but for the most part, they don't. But even like when I was a young dude in Southeast London, Southeast London, there was a fairly large, mostly West Indian population, not that far from me, particularly in like Brixton and stuff. But we didn't mix, not really. Not really. They had their own pubs. We had our own pubs. Did you know one or two of them? A bit, maybe, if you work with them, but not really. You know, there wasn't a huge amount of mixing.
The last flight I just took when I got to the airport, I ordered an Uber, and this guy picks me up, and I'm telling you, I did not want to get in his car. I had this really just creepy feeling about him. And of course, he's a black guy with like long dreads and everything, which whatever. And I get in there, and he just is like blasting this like horrible rap music. And I don't mind some rap music. This was horrible. And I really got nervous. He was just the way he was talking was just creepy. And I started sharing my location with a couple of my friends, and I was like, "Listen," but that was a really scary situation because you know I carry a handgun with me. I've got concealed carry, but you can't when you get off of an airplane. So, and I couldn't have like pepper spray even because I was just on an airplane. Anyway, it was very creepy.
Guys, I was just researching this boy that killed him. So he hanged himself. Apparently, imagine that, like an 8-9-year-old boy who hanged himself, and the police investigating his death found no evidence of bullying. It's funny that, isn't it?
Really?
Yeah, but he
was
a white boy, Mercian.
Yeah.
They said the same with the Richard Everett case, though, when he got killed by the it was at the Bangladeshi Five all those years ago.
Yeah, they've also done the same with some of the rape gang stuff as well. Like some of the archives regarding that just disappeared without an explanation.
And they're trying to get rid of even more of them as well.
And what do you think's going to happen to this kid when he's the one white kid? It's not like when you have a few black kids in a school. You have they're protected, right? You have everybody against this like white kid. That's making him a target.
Yeah.
That's so sick. He was let
there was
terribly.
there was a documentary uploaded by a guy who used to go by the name Sent Harrison on YouTube years ago. It was a BBC Three documentary that he uploaded to his channel, and that was following this single mum and her 2 kids that were like the last white people in their street, and that was pretty awful. And the kid there as well, where they like didn't dwell on it at all. He was very clearly getting bullied in school, and because he wasn't going to school, he was like bunking off, and he kept commenting on them not making him wanted to go. So it's they could be pretty horrific at exercising their outgroup preferences.
But you will not get the mainstream media making a big fuss about any white kid who is abused or killed by immigrants. Whereas if it's the other way around, of course, it's enormous.
Well, I mean, funnily enough, in that Richard Everett case from all those years back, there was actually a woman who had gone to the council and to the school literally only like months before that had happened. And she had been doing an investigation into racism, and she herself turned around and admitted that actually, like, it turned out that all the racism they were finding was all committed by, racism in quotes, committed by non-white groups against white British kids. And she said that once she sort of reported on this and said about this, her sort of access was sort of very much shut down. And they weren't interested. The school was very receptive when they thought they could go around and chant about racism committed by white kids. And the moment they found out that actually the place was actually a hostile environment for white kids because of the non-white kids, they were not interested. And then, of course, within a couple of months, that kid was stabbed to death. So,
oh god.
And the guy, one of the guys who was part of that Bangladeshi 5 gang as well, is a Labour councillor and one of Keir Starmer's close friends.
Oh my god.
What a surprise! What a surprise!
I mean, this is why Restore has to get in. It's more. Sometimes it's more dire than people know. It's more dire than even we know. And it's. I was just reading that little boy's case while you were talking, and it's scary. It's scary.
Yeah, it is.
Mitch, have you finished what you were dealing with, Emmett?
Yeah, I've pretty much finished. I mean, I would say I linked that Zuma cold face video I was talking about in Discord. If anyone wants to know what I was on about, I just say it's a matter of. Like some people say we need to go back to a high trust society. I don't think we're going to go back to it because I think the way that the government stabbed us in the back so many times, I think we're just going to have to be like the Russians. Like in Russia, it's a matter of everyone just sticks with their family, or like everyone. It's all about the connections you've got with the authorities, because no one trusts the government over there. You have to do the best you can, which is why if you live in Moscow or St. Petersburg, one thing you'll do is you own a little dacha, which is like a sort of summer house you have where you grow your own food, because again, you don't know when the state's going to collapse, and you really have to fend out for yourself. So I think even if like we get ourselves over this mess, it's just going to be a matter of we just have to become like the Russians.
It's going to change things. It's not going to go back to the comfortable 1950s British society. I think that's true.
Oh yeah, I love his Sheffield. Reminded me there was this one case of an autistic lad who, while he was reading the Quran, like because of some Islamic thing in his school, he accidentally dropped it, and all the Muslims bullied him, and like they're shouting death threats to this kid, and the mother was forced to go to the mosque to apologise, escorted there by the police. She was forced to go there, groveling to the Muslims, asking for the Muslims to forgive her son. Because
I mean, when they did the whole two-tier policing, that was my big. Like when these people were running around denying it, going, "No, that's not a thing." I'd be like, "Well, how do you explain this?" And just the fucking the chutzpah on these people to just sit there and be like, "No, that's not two-tier policing."
Mitch Harmon, you know as well as I do that if a Muslim kid had done that to a Bible, his mother would have been escorted to the local Church of England church. You know that's true, don't you?
For a cup of tea and a slice of cake.
Yeah, exactly. It's just You know,
I mean,
closest you get to a
it's like
church in that
when the
instance would
Muslims
be-
were doing, when they were recently doing big aggressive marches. What did the cops do? They went and told the Muslims to leave their weapons in the mosque.
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, like the closest you get to an actual Christian church in that instance would be if your local Anglican vicar let the Muslims use the church for this sort of humiliation ritual of a white British person.
God, and these freaking white people that do the groveling, it's unreal. It's just
Yeah.
unreal. And like over here, the lefties that want to do it, that they are like volunteering, saying, "Oh, we're so sorry for stealing your land and for enslaving you," and blah blah blah. Oh my God. God, you guys,
Yeah.
I'm about to go to like a bar and have a few shots. This is pressing.
Yeah. Well, welcome to Splendid Isolation number 2.
Yeah, no kidding.
I'll let you plug your stream towards the end, Aubrey, if you'd like to.
Thank you.
Mercian, did you have something you wanted to talk about before we shut?
Well, I was going to bring it into two subjects. Obviously, Gorton and Denton was one of the things, but I think we've covered that quite nicely by now. I do want to report some sad news though. Wednesday, Rob Grant of Red Dwarf, as in Grant and Naylor. Rob Grant died on Wednesday, 70 years old, and I thought if everyone was up for it, we could kind of mourn his loss by talking about Red Dwarf for a moment. Maybe that'll bring a bit of levity into our lives. Who knows?
That is a loss, actually, bloody hell. I remember watching Red Dwarf when I was a kid.
I know.
I used to watch that I watched that as a teenager, I believe.
Yeah. Mitch, are you a bit too young to remember Red Dwarf? Have you seen anything on Dave?
I've seen it all over channels, but I never watched it myself, so I wouldn't know anything about it.
Well, maybe I feel like this is the wrong audience for that. But,
kind of comedy space show, I think you'd probably say.
Yeah, I am gonna have to head off though, but yeah.
Yeah, we've already lost Bede of Britain as well, but I will plug his channel at the end. Thank you for joining, Adam, and as always.
Yeah, no worries.
Bye,
Talk to you later.
Right, I think it's only me and you. We're not Andrew that might have seen Red Dwarf.
Yeah, I've never seen.
I haven't watched. I haven't watched all of it because I've only caught it online. I didn't watch it on TV.
Oh right, okay. So it's only me then. Oh well.
Surely someone in the audience.
Well, no, there'll be lots of people who've seen Red Dwarf. I just thought it might be an opportunity to bring the levity up just a little bit because that last segment going to some dark places, didn't it? And obviously reporting the death of someone isn't good news either. But if it's sort of like an online wake for Rob Grant, possibly, who knows? I think about episodes about. Did you ever see? The Lone Gunman, where they went into a virtual reality in the Old West, which is typically thought of as their best episode.
I think he's talking to you, Duke.
No, I didn't.
No, okay. Right.
I've seen a few episodes of it, mate, but only a few.
Only a few. Oh, well. My saying was really short then. So if any you on the panel, any of the chat fancy watching Red Dwarf to sort of have the wake for Rob Grant, and I guess it's now's as good a time as any. If you've never seen it, I highly recommend it.
Well,
and we'll leave it there, I guess.
You've had me watch a few things lately, and they've all been very funny. And what was that show that you had me watch the clip from? With the couple that were like really snobby.
Oh yeah,
that was funny.
I made Aubrey watch a clip from Harry Enfield and Chums about the. I think you'll find I'm considerably richer than you.
It was very funny. I don't know. Do you not know that show, Duke?
I know Henry Enfield. I was never a big fan, but I know.
Oh well, I thought it was very funny.
Yeah,
I thought
yeah.
it was very
I,
funny.
you know me in comedies. Like I like.
Well, yeah, but the one.
I like Dad's Army. I'll watch Dad's
Yep.
Army. I thought.
And what's the one with
It
the?
Ain't Half Hot Mum was kind of funny sometimes, but
Isn't there
generally
something
I'm
with
not a comedy
horses?
fan.
Isn't there something with the
Oh,
name?
only Fools and Horses. Yes,
Yes,
was
that
funny.
one was very funny. Mitch,
Yeah,
you've
that
had
was
me
funny.
watch a few clips from that too. That was very funny.
Yeah, that's perhaps like one of our. It's possibly one of the best written things ever. It's so well written.
I liked Blackadder. Someone's asking about Blackadder in the chat. I didn't really like the First World War one much because I thought it was shit, but the others were okay.
I think Blackadder found its feet. Blackadder second.
Yeah, I liked the Queen Elizabeth the first one. I thought that was pretty good.
Yeah, that's the second one, and then the third one was set in Prince Regent times as well. So that'd be the 18th century.
The First World War one was just carrying on so many lies about the First World War, but you know, whatever.
Well, I mean, and they're on about doing a fifth one set in the 60s, but it never quite came to fruition. So I guess they kind of ran out of steam by then.
So there's one show that my grandparents watched every single week, and so every time I would visit, they had like the DVD set, so they would make me sit down and watch like seasons of this. But it was actually very funny, and you guys will know this. It's one of your shows, and all the sisters are like named after flowers. And you guys, I think, Duke, we've talked about this before. It's like an older woman that's a comedian, and she's really funny. Anyway, I don't know. I've said anyway like 50 times in this episode.
Yeah,
But
Anyway.
I don't remember that one.
oh, what was that show? Anyway, it was very, very funny. God, I can't stop saying.
It must have been really old.
No, well, I mean, not super, super old, but it was very, very funny. I really
before
do.
2000, I bet you.
Yeah, well, or right around. I don't know, but I do really kind of enjoy your British humor. It's so different than ours in America, which is funny because you wouldn't think that they'd be so different. But yeah, I do enjoy your shows.
I could show you still lots of good comedies because yeah. The problem is because of woke, we haven't had a good comedy in this country for I'd say 15 years now. Kind of ran out of steam after that, and anything older than 15 years ago, it's not really worth watching, to be honest.
But there was loads of bad comedy in Britain in the old days. I mean, like On the Buses was shit. Love Thy Neighbor was racist shit. Like anti-white racist shit. What was it? Till Death Do Us Depart, same thing.
Keeping Up Appearances is what this was called.
Oh yeah, I remember that. Yeah,
it was very fun. It was very funny.
No, I mean, we've got some great comedies as well. I mean, like I'm trying to think back. How far back do I want to go? I mean, like I used to. I mean, before my time, I used to watch Some Mothers Do Have Them. I really like Frank Spencer.
Yeah, my dad used to watch that. I was never a fan.
What was the show that Lady of Shalott said she loved? She loved it was a cartoon.
A cartoon?
Or not a cartoon, but like it was like it was the girl that was a spy, and she drove like this car, and she said she was inspired by her fashion.
Oh, you're talking about Thunderbirds and Lady Penelope.
Yeah. So she said she was her fashion icon, and So you guys had me watch a couple of clips from that show.
Yeah,
and it was pretty-
when I was a child, that was on TV.
yeah, I liked
yeah.
thinking of little Lady of Shalott being inspired.
It's sad that I know this, but you can actually watch like every episode of Thunderbirds on YouTube for free,
Yeah.
legally. It's just all there.
Yes, Alphabet Cat, Lady Penelope with the pink Rolls Royce.
Yep.
And,
yeah,
and
she
the
said she
chauffeur-
wanted that.
And the chauffeur called Parker, I believe.
Yeah. Yeah, that was pretty funny.
Yeah, there were loads of those puppet shows when I was a kid. But
all Jerry Anderson stuff, they were.
They were all Jerry Anderson. They all pretended to be based in America, and they were all really British.
Do you know a lot of Americans thought that all those Jerry Anderson productions that were American, including Matt Stone and Trey Parker of South Park, and that's why they made Team America World Police and based it around Thunderbirds, because they thought that was really American.
No, all of those shows like Thunderbirds, Captain Scarlet. There was another one I can't even remember now. They were all made in Britain actually, but they gave everyone American accents, which I never really understood. But
that American actors come in to do the voicing for it, so they're shipped over the town, as it were.
No, as far as I'm concerned, the best British comedy ever was Dad's Army, for sure. I don't think Dad's
I like
Army
the horses one. What was it? What is it called again?
Only Fools and Horses was very good.
That's very funny.
Yeah, it was. I really liked it, particularly because I came from that part of the world. But Dad's Army was the best, I have to say it was.
I will say that, I mean, especially now he's not so much of a shit lib anymore. He still is in many ways, but anything written by Graham Linehan, they're amazing. Every single one. Father Ted especially.
John Cleese is a weirdo, like, in terms of, because I've seen him supporting Restore, but then he'll say some other stuff contrary to what we believe. But like, yeah, I know, like,
well, I think John Cleese is setting his ways. I think John Cleese is a boomer that is struggling with reality.
Like, because the thing was, like, he was happy to shit on he was happy to shit on the conservative establishment for years. That provided him with a sort of high trust conservative society that he got to enjoy, and now it's all gone, and he's realised, oh no, woe is me. Or what do we do now? Because now you've got all the mass immigration and the devacination and all the other stuff, and he's also just coming over to Rupert Lowe. He's a bit of a weirdo.
I think you know, you were talking about the whole boomer vote. I think John Cleese is going to be an example of how the boomers are going to treat Restore. I really feel like John Cleese is patient zero of that in terms of the celebrity world.
Yeah, could be. I used to like 40 Towers. I thought that was pretty funny, I have to say.
I'm gonna watch The Office, the Ricky Gervais, Office.
The original.
Yeah, because I love our Steve Carell Office over here. But I'm sure that they're going to be very different.
Yeah,
very different. Yeah.
I'm not a fan of those mockumentary style ones.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of comedies, to tell you the truth, but The Office is just so well written. I don't watch TV anymore, except for with Duke. Actually, he always has me watch stuff. And then, well, now I've been watching the Skinwalker Ranch with Mercian.
Hang on, Aubrey. When you say I get you to watch stuff, let's be truthful here. I'm talking about things like Rome from 2005.
Right. Great show.
I'm not talking about modern stuff, because I don't watch modern stuff at all.
No, yeah, no. And then you have me watch all kinds of 60s things.
Yeah, the only recent thing I've watched is that Night of the Three Kingdoms thing, because Mitch said it wasn't bad, and it's not bad. It's not.
We did watch the one with Chris Pratt too. You and I.
Oh yeah, that wasn't too terrible. Yeah, the what's it called? Terminal List.
Terminal List. Yeah.
Terminal List. Yeah, that was all right. Yeah. That was all
Yeah,
right.
and he's a good right-leaning actor, and he actually speaks about that, which
he's a Republican Christian apparently.
right.
So, yeah.
And I give him credit for that. That's not easy in Hollywood, so I give him credit for that. So can I just wanted to say one last thing, because I know we're getting to the end here, but I didn't really have a topic. I just wanted to come on and hang out with you guys tonight. But for all of you guys, I'm sure you guys saw that we had our State of the Union here. And I just wanted to mention once again how disgusting and despicable the people on the left are. We had a 100-year-old man. Did you guys see this? Getting an award, a Korean War veteran. And he's standing up there, and the freaking left, none of them stood up. Not a single one of them. And I just thought, you know what? This is an American hero. And God bless him, he was adorable. You know, you can't give somebody an applause for that. And then they had like some of our servicemen that had been hurt badly in Afghanistan and other places. Oh, and one of them was the pilot from that thing that just happened. What was that in God, you guys, in Venezuela? No, Nicaragua. Where was it? Yeah, Venezuela that we just had. Anyway, he got hurt, but he finished the mission, the pilot. And that wasn't Venezuela. Where was it, you guys? We just had that.
What? No, it was
The
Venezuela.
weekend we were there, like in Madura. Right. Where was that though?
Venezuela, right?
Okay, I was right. Okay. Yeah. So anyway, the left didn't stand up for any of them, and I get that the more recent people they may not, but 100-year-old man, are you kidding me? So anyway, and then Ilhan Omar, of course, yells out, and I just was like, we've got to get rid of these classless people in our government. But that's all I wanted to point out.
Yeah, when Aubrey says classless, she means they have no class. By the way, not that. Yeah.
Right. And I mean, you can have like the wealthiest, most like high-bred people that have no class, and you can have people that, you know, are whatever and have class, right? It's not a class thing like you're born into.
Yeah. Absolutely, 100%. Aubrey, would you like to plug your? Are you
Yes.
still doing your stream on Monday?
Yep, on Monday. Yep, and I'll put. I'm gonna have the ad thing for it with the links up shortly. But so anybody that came and tried to tune in last week, I so appreciate it for my very first stream. And of course, we had technical difficulties, and YouTube locked us out for 24 hours. So we had the full panel ready to go, and boom. So we're going to do a second attempt at this, and it's going to be Monday at 8:00 p.m. in England time. And it's going to be a big panel. Mitch, you're going to be on. Marcian's going to be on. Duke, you can come on. And my cousin Kelly's going to be on. It's going to be fun. We're going to talk about dating and relationships and sex and relationships. So it's going to be kind of a cool topic, I think.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
There you go. Yeah, tune into that, and that will be on Aubrey's channel. And when she eventually gives it to me, I'll put a link under the.
Yeah, I'll get that up there tonight.
Okay, Mitch, anything you want to plug, mate?
I'm currently in the midst of doing some of my research on Stonewall Jackson. So I'd say Thursday the 12th is when I'm planning on doing that stream about him on my own channel. Be like the evening time for me. That'll be like 9 p.m. GMT.
Well, you'll have another couple of chances to plug that if you want to, Mitch. Mercian, would you like to plug your channel, mate?
Yeah. If you could find my channel, Mercian, I stream on Tuesday nights. Last week we had Iron Duke, Mitch and Atman on as well. So, if you haven't seen them, you can go
I
back to
was
that
on.
one. And Aubrey, you're on every week though.
Oh well, yeah.
Oh, we have Aubrey and Tharium.
Yeah.
They're on every week. You make me feel really bad now. Like I forget. Like
So sorry. I'm sorry.
What he means, Aubrey, is that you're a regular on that stream anyway,
Yes.
so he doesn't really need to mention.
Yeah. I guess I didn't think about it that way.
But yeah, no, I was on Anglo Gang. So was Alman. So was Mitch. So yeah, check it out.
Yeah, it was a fun episode.
Although it's called Anglo Opinions now. It's a
Yeah.
site. I'm going after the old AA unpopular opinions slot.
Fair enough.
See if I can get it all back, because I was never happy the way AA abandoned that slot. That was my favourite thing about Tuesday night, and listening to that podcast, because you had some very interesting people on to speak, much like tonight actually. But it just left a bit of a hole that we weren't streaming anymore, and I said I would, so I am, and then hopefully when things settle down, I'll put out regular videos.
Yeah, no, fair enough. Also, let me remind people, if particularly if you're interested in Middle Eastern history, do check out Bede of Britannia. Is it Bede of Britannia? Bede of Britain? I can't remember.
Britannia.
Thank you, Bede of Britannia. Do check out Bede of Britannia, who was on here earlier. Particularly if you're interested in Middle Eastern history and stuff like that, including British history in the Middle East. He's got a really good series on Persia and Iran at the moment that I can recommend. So go and check out his channel. And there'll be links to those channels later on under the stream.
And one more thing, real quick. I'm sorry. But if you guys, with regard to my stream that's going to be on Monday, if you guys have any topics because I'm doing this because it was requested of me by a few people. So this topic, if you guys have any topics you want to, or situations you want to discuss or mention or have us talk about, please just shoot me a note and in Discord or wherever, or on X. Give me some ideas, questions, things you guys want to hear about.
We were on about doing that sort of paranormal folklore stream as well, weren't we?
Oh yeah, that's what we're doing, our kind of research on Skinwalker Ranch right now. So yeah, we've got a lot in the works.
All sounds very exciting. I'm just checking out entropy thing. We've only got one this week. It's from good friends of the channel, Girin, $5 and he just says hello. Girin, it is much appreciated, mate. This channel costs me quite a lot of money these days, mainly for StreamYards and for X. And so donations are much appreciated because I'm semi-retired and on a pretty fixed income these days. So yeah, thanks for that, Girin.
And thumbs up on the episode here.
Yeah, do hit the like button, guys. We will be back on Wednesday with a history stream. I don't know what the subject's going to be yet, but it will be something to do with British and Old Commonwealth history. People can give me suggestions for that in the Discord. And if you don't, I'll do something that you guys may or may not like, which will probably be to do with either the Anglo-Zulu or the Anglo-Boer War, because I can always do those without doing a lot of research. So anyway, guys, we'll see you on Wednesday, British time. Thank you very much to my guests, Adaman, Mitch, Bede of Britannia, Mercian, and Aubrey, of course. And in the meantime, don't let the bastards grind you down. See you later, guys.
Bye, guys.